Call to order of a regular meeting of the Goodyear City Council, 27 March 2005. Ask everybody if they would join Councilmember Scott in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to guide this elected body to continue to make the wise decisions for our community. We also ask you to look after our city staff as they go about their daily chores. And we ask you to offer the same protection to our armed forces wherever they may be. For this and all else, we thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All council members are in attendance. Ask for acceptance of the minutes of the special meeting on March 20. Are there any comments, changes? Okay. Thank you. The minutes are accepted then for filing. We have no expenditures to ratify. We're now to communications. Does anyone in the public ask to communicate? Lynn?
No.
Okay, opportunity now for the council members to comment on presentations or commendations regarding our staff or anyone else. Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I attended a Green to Gold conference this last week, and we had many topics that we talked about, but I'm just going to give you a general topic heading on each one. If you want more information on it, you can talk to me later because there's a lot on the agenda tonight. But we talked about growth, and we used several cities as examples of how smart growth could take place. We talked a lot about water and water conservation, and many things that we hadn't even thought about here in water conservation that we could add to our list. And then along with that was, of course, affordable housing and renewable energy. And those were very important topics, I think, that fit in today's growing cities. And to be sustainable, these are part of what needs to take place. And it's very important that we consider these in our growth. So, anyone has any that would like more details on that, please see me.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now opportunity for council to comment on any events that they've been to lately or they'd like to brief the public on. Okay. All right. Opportunity for the manager now to update us on current events.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, one item to report on, and that was this past Thursday night was the meeting at Agua Fria High School, the second public meeting regarding the route called Loop, the I-10 reliever, now known as SR 801. And that alignment resulted in having about 100 people show up and expressing their feelings about growth, feelings about it would be sure nice if we would get that road built sooner than later. And that particular project is scheduled for construction in the out years, roughly 2021. So there's been a lot of people showed up, expressed some good, provided a series of good questions, and I think the feedback was helpful in terms of setting the stage for the multi-year, to be over the next year, that they're going to try to define which corridor is the appropriate one, basically south of MC85. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any update on legislative affairs?
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll now move to opportunity for anyone in the public who would like to comment to the council on any subject that is not on this evening's agenda. Would anyone from the public wish to comment? Seeing none, we'll move to the consent agenda, and I'll ask the city clerk to read the items by title only, please.
8A, Council will consider adopting Ordinance 06-985, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending Paragraph J of Section 9-8-3 and paragraph J of section 9-8-8, increasing library development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. 2, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-986, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph I of section 9-8-3 and paragraph I of section 9-8-8, increasing community facilities development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. 3, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-987, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph E of section 9-8-3 and paragraph E of section 9-8-8, increasing police development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. A4, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-988, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph F of section 9-8-3 and paragraph F of section 9-8-8, increasing fire and emergency services development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. 5, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-989, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph H of section 9-8-3 and paragraph H of section 9-8-8, increasing general government development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. A6, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-990, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph G of section 9-8-3 and paragraph G of section 9-8-8, increasing public works development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. A7, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-991, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph D of section 9-8-3 and paragraph D of section 9-8-8, increasing transportation development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. 8A, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-992, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph A of section 9-8-3 and paragraph A of section 9-8-8, increasing water development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. A9, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-993, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph C of section 9-8-3 and paragraph B of section 9-8-8, increasing water resources development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. A10, council will consider adopting ordinance 06-994, amending Article 9-8 of Chapter 9 of the Goodyear City Code by amending paragraph B of section 9-8-3 and paragraph A of section 9-8-8, increasing wastewater development fees, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. B, council will consider adopting Resolution 06-1024 to adopt the recommendations of the El Rio Watercourse Master Plan for watercourse-based flood control management and authorize and direct the city manager to continue discussions with the district, municipalities, government entities, and others to determine the appropriate means to implement the El Rio WCMP and to negotiate intergovernmental agreements, memoranda of understanding, and cooperative agreements to facilitate implementation of the El Rio WCMP. C, council will authorize the city manager to execute a contract with GM Consulting, independent contractor, to perform retail consulting services in the amount of $100,000 plus expenses not to exceed $15,000 during April 2006 through March 2007. D, council will consider adopting Resolution 06-1025, authorizing the city manager and chief of police to execute an agreement between the City of Goodyear and the Arizona Department of Public Safety, State of Arizona, to participate in the Gang Intelligence Enforcement Mission.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Would anyone on council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Vice Mayor?
I would like just a question on B, Resolution 06-1024. The question I have on that is, if any, whatever the city staff decided was best direction on this, this would come back to city council for vote. Would it not?
Regarding financing and
Regarding what would be the best way, the direction we would take in the El Rio.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council, we're just beginning the meetings on implementation, and whatever comes through those meetings, we'll definitely be bringing back to Council to determine how we're going to do this implementation. It would be something that you would have to vote on.
Thank you.
satisfied?
That's fine. I wouldn't have taken that.
Okay, seeing no other requests to remove an item from the consent agenda, could I have a motion to
Motion to
approve?
accept the consent agenda A through D as read by the acting clerk.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Lord. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Mayor Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cavalier,
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa,
Aye.
Councilmember Antoniak,
Aye.
Councilmember Scott,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Lord,
Aye.
passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a brief comment that part of the consent agenda is the executing a contract with the person who will perform retail consulting services, and she's here this evening. I'd like to introduce Gail Rusing. You'd stand up. Gail used to work for the city, and she's come back to us, so great. Welcome. Okay, we'll now move to the business part of our agenda, and we'll start with a proposal for a recreation sports campus. Brian Dalkey. Brian, I did ask if the consultants also, other parts of the contract, would speak after you for a little bit, okay?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's with great pleasure that I'm here before you tonight. Culmination of a lot of work that's gone on behind the scenes, tremendous amount of working with the private sector, a significant commitment on the part of the council and even our citizens. As I share briefly tonight, what led us up to the decision that we'll be promoting, recommending to council. If I could have Elmo, I'd appreciate it. So we do have a presentation that's been prepared. We have a creative staff that likes to have fun with presentations, and you'll see here it's no different with a cactus in the middle of a mitt, signifying the Cactus League, and we call this the pitch. Thank you, Corey. This is about a sports and recreation campus, and one of the things that we've always looked at for this is to be a campus that has use throughout the year. It's a campus that absolutely includes Major League Baseball, but it includes a lot of other elements that are going to engage the public and provide benefit to our citizens throughout the year, including recreation uses, everything from fields to venues that will get our public engaged. And that's a focus that we've had ever since we started. I put here that the public has spoken. We went to the citizens, our citizens, back in September of 2004. As one of the issues, part of our bond issues was $10 million that would authorize us to use that for spring training in a recreation complex. And that was approved by a 2-to-1 vote by our citizens. And I think that really set the stage that we we knew that we had the backing of our citizens to pursue a campus such as this. Very important for us as we go forward and set public policy. The other thing that we did is we kept working behind the scenes, and we had an opportunity to talk to several of the landowners. And as part of that, we began to understand that there was interest on the part of several landowners. So what we did is we stepped back a little bit, and we released what I call a request for information to gauge the interest of any of those landowners that would be interested in working with the city and trying to provide a recreational campus. And we actually went through that process. And here's a lot of fine print but this is not for attorneys to read. They usually read the fine print. But what this is it talks about exactly what we were seeking. And if you look at the bolded words in there, it's, as part of this campus, a larger master plan development. It was to have a minimum of 200 contiguous acres, was ideal, but at least 200 acres as part of the complex. And it was to work with the city in setting aside up to 120 of those acres for use with this campus, included stadium, practice fields, those types of things. You'll see on there it contemplates a 10,000-seat stadium, 12 full and 2 half baseball fields. So what that's for is that's for 2 teams. We are pursuing 2 teams as part of this project. And ancillary player development features such as pitching and batting cages and the things that go along with that. So we knew that it was going to take some time to work with the development community, and we had 3 responses that we are excited about all 3. Been a personal pleasure for several of us, as well as others, to work with each of these groups. Very quality folks that we had an opportunity to work with. Rolls Inn of America, and I have a location, I'll talk about each of these in just a second. EJM Development, and also the Rose Properties Wood family were the 3 sites that were submitted to us. Now, on this screen, you'll see in the upper left corner, that represents a Rolls family site that they were providing as part of their proposal back to us. And for those that are familiar with the area, that's what we call the old trotting track area. And as part of that, we worked closely with the family, and due to an illness on the part of Mr. Ray Rolls, they ended up pulling out towards the end of this as we started working with them. So thoughts and prayers are certainly with Mr. Rolls as he was recuperating. We had an opportunity to work with grandson Todd Rolls, Mark Worth, and then the team at Trammell Crow came on board. I think it's important to point out that they had a lot of representation here in trying to work through this. The site, if you move off to your right, and that red line on top is Interstate 10, and you'll see the dotted orange line off to the left vertical. That's a 303, and I don't have a pointer here, but I think it's pretty easy to point out. On Interstate 10, the site off to the right where the 2 green configurations are, it's owned by EJM Corporation or Development Company, and that represents 2 different sites, but we had the opportunity to work with the Monkarsh family. They're based out of California, but they're very excited about trying to do something that they hadn't done before, and starting to experience the types of developments they are in Henderson, Nevada. So we had a lot of good work with them, and I know that Fred Stiles is here. Fred, you in the room here or you outside? Fred, thank you very much for all the time and effort you put into this. And then the last site that we considered, in the center of the screen, you'll see the City Center campus. The city, of course, has been working on this under Councilmember Lord's leadership, along with the citizens. Been working on this in council, certainly, too, for some time. We're almost at the finish line of getting the City Center design done, development design guidelines done as part of that. But the sites just to the south of that are owned by the Wood family, and you'll see 2 parcels there. And the north site, the smaller of the green, actually enters into the area we call the City Center. And once again, it was honor and a privilege to work with that team, John Ruggieri, Eric Judson, the Wood family. It's always a pleasure to work with a family that's really trying to, I think, leave a legacy within the community, so they've talked about. And I don't know why we went back to me, but if we could get back up to Elmo, I'd appreciate it. There we go. It's a better looking picture. And lastly, Dustin Jones working with them as well. So you can see it was a formidable task at best to try and weed through this. And what we did is you have to come up with some type of criteria to select. And what we're doing tonight is we're recommending one to actually run with for now, if you will, to focus our energies on. And that criteria came down to this. It looked at financially, obviously we owe it to our constituents, the citizens that have provided $10 million in bond issuance for us to make this project work. So we looked at what the obligations were back to the developer, the reimbursements, the project revenues. Some of these are best estimates as we work through this, because this is a moving target. Revenues will change as we get more final plans and some of those things in place. The development team, we certainly looked at that, the project experience of the firms, the staff, what we considered motivation and innovation, as well as their baseball knowledge. We felt that that would be important to add to staff's knowledge base to bring those types of skills. We looked at the site, considered things as far as impact on adjacent existing development, impact on adjacent planned development, and then the accessibility of the site. And when you talk about accessibility, it's accessibility today, it's accessibility tomorrow. And we look at that, how will it be served by interstates, by truck routes, by a variety of ways to get many, many people in and out of this and move them as quickly as possible and safely as possible. We looked at development timelines, and what does that mean? We looked at, are there opportunities for immediate development that would be done on the part of the private sector in conjunction with this project? Keep in mind, it's very important for us to have ancillary development, those developments around that help support the vision that the city has, whether it be office, retail, hotels, it's those types of things, and a phasing plan. Ancillary development, I mentioned that a little bit, but it's something that ability to provide a unique experience that we call the wow factor. Now, wow is subjective in I guess, some circles, but it's something that's unique and different. And I think that we are looking for a unique experience as part of this. Also, the market forces, how will they impact this development? And finally, the facility functionality. We know what existing facilities are out there, spring training facilities in the Cactus League, in the Metro Phoenix area, and certainly in Tucson. We know what works. We know also that there are opportunities to tweak that and perhaps look at different models that have been proven outside our immediate area. So we evaluated some of the innovation, the new way of approaching this. And finally, the team's preferences, which we'll be working closely with if we receive approval tonight. The site that we ended up selecting, going through this criteria, is in fact the Wood family site being represented by the Rose Properties Southwest. And it's the site, after a lot of work on the part of council, mayor, council, and staff, and working closely with the development community, is the one that we're recommending for approval tonight. Real quickly, the reasons for that are these. The criteria that I just talked about before were evaluated. We also looked at what the least cost proposal in terms of reimbursements and costs to the city. We looked at things, reduced costs to the stadium due to the ancillary development, and there will be more to follow. We have good concepts now. You will not see renderings of those concepts tonight because there are variations that are going to occur as we work with the teams. We want to make sure that the teams have a chance to weigh in on what the ultimate site plan is going to look like. So as part of that, you won't actually see site renderings tonight, but we do know that it is going to be a reduced cost, we think, with this particular proposal. It also is a proposal effort, one that you gauge the amount of work and effort that went into the proposal, the experience of the team. And I want to talk about that perhaps last before I introduce that group, but let me go to the next bullet. Innovation of the project. Here the mayor talk about a ballpark like no other, and that's what we think that we're getting here. Catalyst to develop the city center. This is right next door to the city center, and with development there, we think it will happen there. And connections to Major League Baseball. Let me go back to the point of the experience of the team, and this will lead into introduction of them here in a minute. But the introduction of the team is this: we have Rose Properties that are representing the Wood family, and we have JMI Sports. You'll have an opportunity to hear from Eric Judson tonight. JMI, a little cheat sheet. I'm going to tell a little bit about them. JMI Sports / Realty / Services Group. They actually have several. It's a private real estate investment development company that's based in Seattle, or San Diego, excuse me. I could get shot for that, couldn't I, Eric? By the way, Eric used to play ball for Philadelphia, but I don't know what position. He hasn't talked about that. But they manage $310 million in real estate investments. And they're implementing $200 million in current development, and these are things in lodging and multifamily and urban land. And JMI Realty ranks as one of the most active lodging developers in the United States in the active hotel development business. But probably, one of the things that I think of when I think of them is designated by the city of San Diego. San Diego picked this team, this group, and the Padres and they were also picked by the Padres as a master developer for the ballpark district in downtown San Diego. 26-block area around the Padres' $470 million stadium. Omni Hotel is part of that, and I don't want to steal much more of their thunder, but suffice it to say that they really turned around that area of San Diego into a beautifully redeveloped area. So again, strength of the team. Heinz Interest LP, they're an international real estate firm with 2,800 employees. 230 million square feet of office, industrial, mixed-use retail, and they're really known as a landmark for high-quality office buildings throughout the United States. And they feel like they set the standard for real estate development, management, and investment the world over. So that's the strength of the development team that we feel like we're working with, and that we would like to introduce you tonight. And with that, I want to give a few minutes to John Ruggieri with the Rose Properties, and then also if you would introduce Eric, and then I'll return to the lectern. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you very much. We are really excited about this opportunity. But before I go into that, I want to compliment staff. They were very professional, your senior staff. You've got a great group of people there. It's really exciting to be here tonight, and I'd like to go back to the family and the heritage. I'm sure Ron Wood would have been proud of what we're doing tonight and what we intend on doing to leave a legacy not only for himself and his family, but also a continued legacy for the city of Goodyear. Ron spent many decades in working for the public good, and we would like to continue that legacy starting tonight. I'm the managing director of Rose Properties. We are the joint venture partner with the Wood family. We have been working on the project, working out a PAD on the property now for almost 2 years. Right from the get-go, I understood that this site held the potential for a spring training facility and a heck of a lot more. We waited for the RFI to come around, and when it did come out, I turned to my friend Eric Judson. I know Eric because in my previous lifetime I was the principal of a large consulting firm based in San Diego, and we had the privilege of working for Heinz Development, working with HOK for the Padres organization. I've come to know Eric both professionally and personally, and he's a great guy, very knowledgeable, and will help to deliver the project. I went to Eric a few months ago and said an RFI is coming out. I'd like to talk to you about how we do something that is absolutely very, very special. Not like a normal spring training facility, but a mixed-use development that could be themed around baseball and entertainment zone around baseball. And because of what Eric and I our work together and our love of urban design and his experience with the ballpark, I thought that it would be great. So when he said, yes, I would be very interested in participating in this, I knew that my life was made a whole heck of a lot easier. And so with that, I'm going to hand you over to Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. Rarely do people say that their life is a lot easier now that I'm working with them, but I'll appreciate that very much. We'll see how it works out. A lot of hard work to come. As I've been introduced, my name is Eric Judson. I'm the principal with JMI Sports. JMI Sports is a new company, really. It was born out of the experience in San Diego, and that experience was a long and really thoughtful one, and one that was an experience for San Diego that reaped great benefits. We started this company because we were so successful in taking a ballpark and turning into much more than that, more than a ballpark. And that more than a ballpark meant a very successful urban development that included a ballpark for the Padres, of course. But more importantly, from the public standpoint, it included a development that now is reaching nearly $3 billion in the East Village area. And that development was really because of the ballpark was a catalyst, and it was thoughtfully planned in a way to allow that development to occur. And then after the ballpark was opened, and that was a tremendous day for all of us in San Diego, the public benefits were certainly recognized at that point. I worked for the Padres for a few more years as an executive vice president, and I was thirsting, and John Moores and I, the owner of the Padres, were talking a great deal about taking that experience, taking that knowledge that we gained in San Diego, and sharing it with other communities, sharing it in a way that could, we hoped anyway, reap the same benefits. So we started JMI Sports, and I still work with the Padres very closely. In fact, my office is there, so I get to go to the ballpark every single day that we helped create. And we started to really also add value to the other assets of John Moores. And as John indicated, JMI Realty, and Brian also mentioned them, they're a sister company of mine, and Brian gave some of the details, the financial details, but real importantly, they've got a set of assets. They are very active in the hospitality world. I've talked to them at great length about this. And so marrying the sports facility again with the other ancillary development is something that we felt was very important, because there is a great deal of public benefit that can come from that. So that's why we started JMI Sports. And I'll tell you, John and I have known each other for a long time. We came across each other and talked about our ventures, what we were working on. I became very excited. It was because of that introduction that I came to Goodyear initially. It was because of the long-standing commitment that I heard about from the Wood family that I became more interested. But it was really the fact that we were able to take that San Diego experience and now transfer it to the city of Goodyear and do something very unique for this community, something that could take a spring training facility and make it more than a spring training facility, just as we talked about more than a ballpark in San Diego. From the vision that we've talked about to where we'll ultimately be from an implementation standpoint, I think it's important to note again and to stress that there are a lot of great facilities out there. We're talking about something different. We're talking about a civic gathering place. We're talking about a community asset that will be active for the people of Goodyear year-round. Of course, you've got those spring training fields that they'll be used many months of the year for the team. But we'd like to turn that main ballpark, that main stadium, into something much more for the community to rally around. So that will be, I think, the initial vision that leads us to a much more comprehensive mixed-use program. From an implementation standpoint, obviously you can look at San Diego as a great example. When you talk about HOK Sport, you talk about Hines. They were our development manager on the project in San Diego. We're talking to them about construction management services here. It's all about mitigating the owner's risk, and the owner we recognize is the public and the city of Goodyear. And we believe we've got an exceptional team to deliver that for you in a way that, as we keep talking about, a ballpark like no other, a spring training facility like no other, and one that the community will be very proud of. So we're very pleased to be here, and we think that we will add great value, and we're looking forward to all the hard work and making people's lives easier around here. So thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I don't know if you had any questions of the developers, development team before they sat down. Okay.
We may have some questions.
Okay. There we go. This is just one last site. There's only one slide after this, but this is the actual site itself. Again, as I talked about, we won't have renderings tonight. We're working through several different design concepts right now, but the thought is that on the stadium site itself would be part of that 60-acre north parcel, actually 57 acres, and then the practice fields would be on the south campus, if you will. So we would actually be looking at how we marry those together. What we're seeking for tonight is actually 3 council action items. First one is to approve the site known as the Wood Corporate Campus for us to move forward on for spring training site. The second is for council to authorize staff to finalize negotiations with 2 Major League Baseball teams for the Cactus Spring Training Campus. And the third is to authorize staff to submit application to the Sports and Tourism Authority for funding the Cactus League facilities. So those are the major moving parts as part of this, and we're seeking council authorization to proceed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Is there a representative here from Heinz Interest LP or from HOK? Okay, I did want, though, to comment that the owner of Rose Properties is here, and he wasn't introduced earlier. Jack Rose, you're welcome to have you here. To the public, the council discussed this in a executive session at 4 o'clock from 4 to 5. Covering items that are best discussed in an executive session and properly discussed in an executive session. So some of the questions you might expect we've already asked and answered by staff. We will handle each of these, and I'm glad they're still up there. Each of those bullets is a separate motion requiring a separate decision, and we'll do that as council. Each one will be separate. But I'd like to first ask if there's any comments from the public on any one of these 3 items. Comments from the public on this particular subject in its breadth. Okay, seeing none, then we'll start with the first one, and I'll ask for a motion to approve that, and then we'll discuss that one. Okay?
Mr. Mayor?
You want a motion?
Councilmember Souza is going to make a motion, right? Yep.
On item number 1, Mr. Mayor, I move that the council approve a site known as the Wood Corporation Campus, generally located south of Yuma Road, north of MC 85, west of Phoenix Goodyear Airport, and east of Australia Parkway, for a sports and recreation campus, and authorize staff to negotiate with Rose Properties and the Woods family for the acquisition of that site. I so move.
Second.
A motion from Councilmember Souza and a second from Councilmember Scott. It's open for discussion. Councilmember Souza.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to make some comments about thinking about the direction that we're moving here this evening. Now we're fastly coming to the close of the cactus season for 2006 in the state of Arizona. And what is exciting about these projects that you're presenting to us and what we envision for the future, number one, that those parks that are being used right now are going to be dormant until 2007. This project here will be ongoing for this community and others that come here to enjoy those facilities. And that's what I think is exciting, not only for the council, but for the city as a whole and the region in its entirety. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Antoniak.
Just a couple of quick comments. Thank you, staff, and thank you, I guess I could say applicant, but the whole team for working real diligently over the last several days and nights and evenings and weekends and what have you to hash this all out to get it to us today. I do look forward to learning more about what you described as mitigating public risk and learning that in the next coming weeks and how we can do that and how this innovative public-private partnership does provide for mitigating those public risks and those public dollars over the next several weeks. So look forward to that. But I think we're on the cusp of an exciting time for Goodyear, an exciting time for the private sector to show their creative side and show their ability to work effectively and efficiently with the public sector to get something done that hopefully all the residents of Goodyear and the Southwest Valley will enjoy.
Okay. Councilmember Lord?
Yes, I'm quite excited too, and I thank you for it because, of course, I'm interested in the city center, and I think you're interested in making this a real unique baseball field. It's not going to be like any other, as you've stated, and I think it will actually enhance the city center, and I look forward to working with you on it.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Scott?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I know Jack Rose. I've known him for a while, and certainly with his new associates here that people will be working with, I think this will be a partnership that we'll all enjoy very much, and it'll be a real benefit for the community. I have just one question, though. You still didn't tell us what position you play with the Braves.
All I said is I didn't play very well.
Thank you.
I doubt that. Councilmember Holland?
I just want to say thank you to the staff. All of you did a great job. Really appreciate it, bringing all this information to us, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Well, thank you, Mayor. I think that this is and I share what everyone else has said on this topic, but I want to say one thing more, and that is I think that this project will be a catalyst that will make the city of Goodyear grow into something that is totally unique and something that will make Goodyear stand out as a premier city. And I think that will indicate to our neighbors and to our tourists, to everyone, visitors who comes to visit us, that we are a unique and progressive city. And I think that this is the beginning of something great. And I think the partnerships that we will continue to have with this group and with other groups coming in will do nothing more but be a win-win for everyone. And we want to thank you very much for bringing this forward, and we appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Now I'll ask for a motion on the authorizing staff to finalize negotiations.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we authorize staff to finalize negotiations with 2 Major League Baseball teams for the Cactus Spring Training Camps.
I have a motion from Councilmember Antoniak and a second from
A second.
Councilmember Lord. Any discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Now I'll move to the third motion. Fred, you want to take that one?
Motion to authorize the staff to submit application to the Sports and Tourism Authority for funding the Cactus League facilities.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Holland. Just a comment before we leave the subject. Are there any other discussion items? Councilmember Souza.
I'd like to just say this. I would hope that Mr. Dahlke would send a letter of commendation to EJM Development for their interest in making their properties available to the efforts of our efforts here in Goodyear for this baseball facility. We know that maybe a commitment has been made in the Rolls property. Certainly EJM owns property here in the city of Goodyear. We hope that they find a use for those properties in the city again outside of the baseball facility. We thank their efforts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And just last comment, we've come a long way in this subject. City of Goodyear Council and the staff has been working hard on this for well over a year. In fact, we've been discussing the subject for a couple of years, and this isn't over yet. We're sort of, not to be trite, but we're rounding first base, folks. But we need to come slide into home within the next month. It's that close to success or failure on this, and we, with Brian as our staff head and Stephen and this great team, we have the right people to bring together a successful baseball park within the city of Goodyear. Now we need to do a few more steps. They're tough, they're challenging. I don't know really how they'll end up. I just know that we'll continue to try as hard as we can to succeed. So hang in there for the next couple weeks.
I'm not going to walk.
All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0.
All right.
Thank you.
Still didn't find that requisition.
You want to tell you, didn't you?
I guess he was official.
He's tall enough for first. He's tall enough to be a first baseman. It's a tough act to follow.
Thanks.
Put a little pressure on you.
We'll now move to the second item on our business agenda. That's the rezoning application for Saraville Crossing Business Park. Harvey?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members, council members, members of the audience, as Councilman Scott indicated, this is a tough act to follow, so this is a...
You're up to it, though. Come on.
Thank you. Yes. A rezoning application for what was known as Saraville Crossing, which is located at the southeast corner of Elwood and Saraville Avenue. The area, Red, I'll explain exactly how, a little bit of background, how we got to this point in terms of the rezoning application. The property in question is located just south of Saraville Village, a single-family development that's been developing over the last 5-6 years. These are 5-acre county lots in this location. This is property that's been zoned I-2 heavy industrial, which is mini storage, has been designated for mini storage use permit. This is the former Wally building, which is being purchased by Biaflora now. There's various industrial lots to the south. And to the east is Arizona Galvanizing and Lord's Furniture, which is I-2 properties. Over the last several months, this area, by the way, is roughly 70 acres gross. The Planning Commission, in considering rezoning applications, primarily over on the west side, talked about this property being designated, been hard zone I-2, which is heavy industrial since the 1980s. However, the general plan, which was approved in 2003, designated this area as light industrial as opposed to heavy industrial. And the Planning Commission expressed concerns about what could happen in this area that would impact these residents. So staff took it upon itself and initiated a rezoning application, and that's the area that's designated in red, is a rezoning application the staff actually initiated from I-2 to I-1, which is basically a downzoning in the property. This obviously raised concerns with the landowner who is in the process of selling the property to a developer. It also expressed concerns who wanted to retain some of the I-2 characteristics of this property. And then at that point, we held the rezoning that staff initiated in abeyance, and the applicant and staff and the developer had several meetings where a PAD application was submitted and to address some of staff's concerns and issues regarding this property. The property that the applicant owns actually incorporates these two lots just to the south here, which is also part of the PAD application, but are not reflected on this particular map. This gives you the zoning. The purple area, light purple area, is an area that's is zoned I-2. This is an area that's been designated agriculture, but recently rezoned to I-2 to accommodate some mini storage facilities. And of course, this is Saraville Village. The development plan, basically, the PAD application looks like this. I don't know if I can do the focus on that. I think it's just like that. basically, we have a combination of uses on this PAD application, and it's in your PAD book. This crosshatch area, these 4 lots are designated as business park commercial, and these area that's white are light industrial. And then this is a large area that is designated. This is the largest lot, which is over 20 acres, which would be an I-2 unit. So we have buffering between the single-family residents of Saraville Village to the north and with this light industrial, and then there's the more heavier industrial. So we believe that this is PAD meets the spirit and intent of the general plan that was adopted in 2003, because we are addressing the buffering, which I think was the intent of the general plan in 2003, was to provide for a buffer between the residential to the north and the heavier industrial along the railroad tracks, along Eddie Albert Way to the south. So I'm pleased to say that we've reached an agreement on this. One of the stipulations of this particular rezoning, and one of the staff's motivations in moving this PAD along as quickly as it is, there's a major sewer trunk line that will be constructed along the Elwood Street alignment, and an easement was needed from the landowner, about a 40-foot wide easement, an 80-foot temporary construction easement, and that's stipulation number 13 in the ordinance. And basically the owner has committed to, he's already dedicated, or not dedicated, he's already signed over the easement to us for the temporary construction easement, and given us a sewer license for the 40-foot easement, which is mostly part of the future right-of-way for Elwood Street for this sewer construction. The sewer construction, the bid award has been already been done by Taylor Woodrow. We'll be building this. This sewer trunk line is serving the residential properties that are being planned on the west side of Goodyear between Cotton Lane and Perryville, south of the interstate. So it's critical that we get the sewer line in as quickly as possible, and within the next 60 days, 60 to 90 days, there'll be construction in that area. So the landowner has dedicated the sewer license and the temporary easement, and those will be coming back to City Council for acceptance at a future meeting next month. I believe that summarizes my comments. I think this is probably an important zoning case. This is the first time we've ever had a zoning case that's represented by 2 zoning attorneys. We have the seller is represented by Lynn Lagarde, and the buyer, the developer, is represented by Dustin Jones. So each one may want to speak. So unless the council, mayor and council has any questions of me, that's all my comments.
Okay, thank you. Opportunity for the applicant.
For your record, Lynn Lagarde, Earl Curly Lagarde, 3101 North Central in Phoenix, and I'm here tonight representing the Republic Companies, who are the current owner of the property. Thank yous from zoning attorneys can sound sometimes routine, but I really want you to know in this case it's far from routine. We really appreciate the effort of Mr. Kraus and his staff. Sarah Shelton, I know, was here, and Keith Brown, who had some very intensive meetings with us, kept their promise to give us a timely review, and brought us here tonight with a case that was processed to meet community goals and also developer needs. And that doesn't always happen quite as happily and quickly as it did in this case, and we really thank Mr. Kraus for doing that. Harvey began working on this project, as I told the Planning Commission, with one clear and unswerving goal, and it was also the direction of the mayor to my clients: protect Saraville Village, implement our general plan for lighter industrial uses that will buffer them, and eliminate some of those heavier I-2 uses that have been on the property for a long, long time, over 20, 30 years. The PAD protects Saraville Village, as Mr. Kraus pointed out, by putting a major buffer. 2/3 of the property is essentially I-1 with some commercial flex uses along the Saraville frontage. And the heavier industrial uses are restricted to that southeast corner of the site that is already surrounded by, as he explained to you, adjacent heavier industrial uses. It further restricts even that heavy industrial area by eliminating some of the uses that people would find objectionable that are even allowed under your I-2 zoning use list. In addition to limiting use lists, the PAD puts in place restrictive development standards both as to the site and to landscaping, architectural design guidelines that relate to building materials, colors, architectural design, a sign package, all of which are intended to give a strong identity to the project, make it compatible and architecturally pleasing as a whole. The whole intent of this exercise is to create a project, a business park of which you, the city, we, the developer, and our surrounding neighbors can be proud, that will contribute to your employment mix and to the economic vitality of the community. In addition to accomplishing all of those important community goals, we worked really hard with your staff to develop a project that could be successful for the developer, because it does you no good to approve a beautiful project that won't work economically. There are two keys to the economic success of this project. One is access, and that was accomplished by the provision of full access from Saraville, 2 full access entries from Elgood, and the other important provision for economic vitality here, or viability of the project, was allowing those flexible uses along the Saraville frontage. It was not an easy task, but it was accomplished, and I think accomplished in record time, so we thank the staff for that, and it was a pleasure working with them and Mr. Kraus during this process. And if you have any questions, Mr. Jones is also here, and he'll give you a few more details if you'd like about the project. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, Dustin Jones with Snell and Wilmer, 1 Arizona Center, on behalf of the developer, the purchaser of the property. Again, we'd like to commend staff for their tireless efforts working with us to resolve the problems with this site that were contemplated by staff and experienced probably a few years ago. You may all recall, I was on the Planning and Zoning Commission at the time, and this room was stormed by quite a few neighbors who were not very excited about a proposed development that was going to be just south of this property. It was a full house. The Planning and Zoning Commission didn't want to remember that night. I beg that you probably would not want to remember that night either. But what is before you is a proposal that mitigates the impact on the neighbors, creates a buffer for the adjacent neighbors to the north. As we know, there was a Planning and Zoning Commission member that came out of that neighborhood, and she really encouraged staff to initiate rezoning of this property. Working with both the seller and the buyer, we've worked out a solution that we feel fits the needs of the community as well as the development community to have this PAD that has these 3 types of uses designated on the site and creating the buffer on the northern side of the property. Also, as I told Planning and Zoning Commission, you'll note in your staff report that this PAD was approved, if approved tonight, in record time. The application was submitted just in January, and I told Harvey I appreciate him setting a precedent, and I'll tell all my clients it'll be done in 3 months from now on. So we appreciate staff and their expediency in getting this application approved. And if you have any questions, we appreciate taking those at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the public? Can I ask the clerk to read the ordinance by title only, please?
Council will consider adopting Ordinance 06-995, providing for conditional rezoning of 70.33 gross acres of property generally located at the southeast corner of Saraville Avenue and Elwood Street from the General Industrial Zoning District to final planned area development, mixed uses, known as Saraville Crossing Business Park, to allow for general and light industrial, commercial, office, and light manufacturing uses, amending supplementary zoning map number 06-001 to provide for the change in zoning, providing separability, and providing for an effective date.
Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to accept the ordinance number 2006-995 as read by the clerk.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Antoniak. It's open for discussion. Councilmember Antoniak?
Actually, I'm wondering if there's a conspiracy to have two zoning attorneys now on every case, and maybe that expedites it. That was, no, I appreciate all the buffering. It's nice to know that the last application we had in that area was remembered and respected, and the neighborhood wishes were respected while you went through this process. So appreciate that, and appreciate staff's diligence on that as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Souza?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Kraus, what basically would the buffer consist of on Elwood Street?
Mayor, Councilman Sousa, there's, let me get another map. First, there's some retention area that's on the south side of Saraville Village.
That's right, there's what there?
Retention area, open space, landscaped area, these green spaces right here. So we've got already a built-in retention. There's going to be then a 6-lane roadway, Elwood, truck route, and then there's a 30-foot landscape setback on the south side of Elwood for building setback at a minimum. So that's roughly what the setback would be.
That's a 6-lane street. So there is landscaping to the north, and there will be landscaping to the south as well?
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, ask for a roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Cavalier.
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa.
Aye.
Councilmember Antoniak.
Aye.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Lord.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kavanaugh. Mayor Kavanaugh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
And Harvey, good job.
Well, thank you.
Nice to get those compliments from the developer and the attorneys. So, thank you. We'll now move to consider adoption of resolutions for a development agreement with Newland Communities. Harvey?
Mayor, Council, the general plan designates 3 community park sites from the Gila River down to Pecos Road. One of these locations is we have worked with over the last few years is located just north of the Estrella Foothills High School campus. And the property was recently rezoned. The PAD was amended to accommodate the park in this location. This is the Estrella Foothills campus and portions of EMR. It's located at the southeast corner of Estrella Parkway and West Star Drive extended. So West Star Drive would be along the north boundary of this 37 acres. Over the past several months, the city has been negotiating a development agreement with Newland Communities to acquire this 37 acres for a second community park, to develop a second community park in Goodyear. The negotiated sale price is $5.5 million, which is based upon 2 appraisals, one appraisal that the city had done and one appraisal that the developer provided. And basically, it was the midpoint of those 2 appraisals. It was a median of those 2 appraisals. The development agreement provides for no cash down for this particular property. The developer would be reimbursed for the value of this property through development fees that are collected from individual properties that are permitted in Estrella Mountain Ranch. So essentially there is right at this present time, there's a $1,065 development fee for each single-family detached home. And as a builder would pull a permit, that they would pay that $1,065, and then we would turn around and reimburse Newland Communities for for the value of that property until they are fully made whole. And roughly they're, at the present 1,065, that's roughly 5,200 dwelling units. However, as the council did tonight's meeting and reevaluating our development fees and increasing those development fees, so that payoff would be a lot faster if the fees are eventually increased. The other stipulations in the development agreement is that the city basically is developing this park within 3 phases. This is the park that was actually designated by the council through public meetings down in EMR. This is phase 1, which represents the Little League fields in this area. Public Works council has awarded a design contract for this first phase, and there is money, approximately, I believe, $2 million in this fiscal year's budget to do construction on the first phase of this new park. Newland has asked for in the development fee or development agreement to be able to submit names for this park. Other than South Park, I don't know if they're going to submit a name for this park. The council still has the authority to name the park, but they would like to present a name or a couple of names for the park when the council gets around to naming the park. The other stipulation in the development agreement is the future West Star Drive. It provides for sharing of funding for West Star Drive between the city and Newland communities. I believe that concludes my comments. I don't know if anyone from Newland Communities is here this evening, but I can answer any questions you might have. They've already signed the development agreement. A copy has been forwarded to you.
Excuse me, did you say the applicant was not here?
I don't believe anyone from Newland is here this evening.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Ask the clerk to read the resolution by title only, please.
Council will consider adopting Resolution 06-1029, approving a development agreement with NNP3 Estrella Mountain Ranch, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, for conveying 37.099 acres of land generally located at the southeast corner of Estrella Parkway and a future extension of West Star Drive for a community park within the city of Goodyear and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion?
Motion to accept Resolution 2006-1029 as read by the clerk.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Holland. Open for discussion. Councilmember Souza.
Mr. Cross, you did say we retain the right to name the park?
Mayor, Council, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Antoniak?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Lord?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cavalier?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to consider adoption of an ordinance approving the rezoning of acreage known as the at-home district. Do you want to do this and the comprehensive sign package together, or?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to brief them both at once?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, David Canning will present.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Subject 51-acre property is located at the southeast corner of McDowell Road and Bullard Avenue. And the applicant has 2 requests. The first is for a rezoning from the agricultural district to the final planned area development mixed-use commercial district for the development of the at-home district commercial center. And the second request is for approval of a comprehensive sign package for the at-home district. The property is located within the Palm Valley Master Plan area and has a regional commercial land use designation. To the north of the subject parcel is a planned mixed-use commercial center known as Palm Valley Promenade, which is yet to be constructed. To the west of subject property is a vacant agricultural parcel. To the south is Interstate 10. To the northwest of the property is the Goodyear Planned Regional Center, and located to the east is the yet-to-be-constructed Palm Place Plaza office condominium developments. As part of this rezoning request, the applicant has provided detailed development guidelines that will direct the future development of the center. The entire PAD will be subject to the city's general commercial zoning district, except that the buildings that line 145th Avenue will be allowed a 15-foot setback, where a 30-foot setback is normally required. And as just mentioned, this is the previous, or rather the conceptual site plan for the proposed at-home district planned area development. According to the master development plan, the buildings have been oriented to create a centrally located main street that will provide angled parking. This is the main street. Paver sidewalk, shade trees, benches, and arcades, all of which will create a unique pedestrian shopping experience. The main street will be directly accessible from access points on Bullard Avenue, McDowell Road, and 145th Avenue. There will also be a pedestrian resting place or meeting place plaza centrally located on the site. The entire commercial center will contain just over 400,000 square feet of tenant space, which will include a mixture of major tenants, restaurants, pad users, and shops. Approximately 2,500 parking spaces are planned for the development, which is 600 more than what is required. These are the conceptual Main Street building elevations, and this exhibit depicts the south side of the buildings that line the north half of the Main Street. You can kind of get a better idea of where these elevations are located if you look at this key map at the bottom. This is the Main Street, and this is just north of the Main Street. Again, you're looking at the south side of the elevations. This next exhibit depicts the north side of the buildings that line the south side of the Main Street. And lastly, this exhibit demonstrates what the development will look like from Interstate 10. Staff feels that the building elevations are appropriate for the site and that they will enhance the streetscapes along McDowell Road, Bullard Avenue, and 145th Avenue. And on February 15th, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the rezoning request with stipulations. This next request is for approval of the at-home district comprehensive sign package. Numerous types of signs are planned for the site, including one freeway pylon sign, which I will display in a moment, 3 corner median monument signs, and each of those signs will be located at the Bullard Avenue access point, McDowell Road access point, and at the northwest corner of the site. 5 multi-tenant signs, 2 located on Bullard Avenue, 2 on McDowell Road, and 1 on 145th Avenue, and numerous other types of signage within the site as contained within the development guidelines. This is the proposed freeway pylon sign. The pylon sign has a height of 80 feet and has an aggregate area of 1,090 square feet. And as previously mentioned, the sign will be located at the site's southeast corner. The proposed pylon sign is generally consistent with the dimensions of other recently approved freeway pylon signs, including the Goodyear Centerpoint sign. Staff generally supports the requested signage for this development since a commercial center of this size, location, and scope warrants unique sign criteria. In addition, the types and amount of tenant signage proposed in the at-home district development is generally consistent with the signage of other existing similar large commercial centers along the Interstate 10 corridor. And on February 15, 2006, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the at-home district comprehensive sign package with stipulations. This concludes my presentation. The applicant, I believe, is here to answer any questions, as well as staff.
Opportunity for the applicant.
My name is Jay Ellingson, Suncor Development, 14130 West McDowell Road, Goodyear, Arizona. It's nice to be here. Appreciate your time. It's been a real effort on behalf of the staff and Suncor and our consultants to bring you this package together. With every package we bring before you, we hope that we improve. This one is a specific utility in terms of a home district, an opportunity that we do not find in Goodyear to date. The package overall is very festive with colors and signage and flags and placement of buildings and architecture that make it unique in its own personality. The areas of conversation that I need to have clarification on really have to do with the stipulations. Some of the stipulations were modified between P&Z and council, and so I need further direction to help us in hope of approval of this particular rezoning effort. The first one is stipulation 2, the change and difference between what we have talked to staff and what was presented to planning and zoning for the drainage and multi-use trail is that we would provide this area in terms of a separation that would be purchased by the city. It is now being proposed that this be an easement. The problem with an easement for drainage, there really isn't one, but for a pedestrian pathway, there is a problem. We do not want to own a pathway that has liability with it and for whose sole purpose it is for the connectivity of the basins and the parkway and those kinds of considerations. So we feel an easement is not appropriate, and in every conversation with staff in the whole process, we have made it known that the city should own this. And because there is a parks and open space development fee, there is funding available for the city to own this particular 50-foot strip. If it were, again, to be just drainage, we could still utilize it. In modification to the site, the proposed site, you can see that there is an impact that will certainly be necessary. You can see where the 50-foot strip would be on the site plan that was already demonstrated to you. So we really want direction by you tonight. We think it's appropriate, again, that instead of an easement, it should be owned, and we would like that change if possible. The other one is stipulation 4. Excuse me? That's why we pay development fees. The next one is stipulation 4, which has to do with a couple of issues relative to the width of Bullard Road. In our ongoing agreement with the city in all the developments in Palm Valley, we are committed to do 2 lanes adjacent to the property that we own. Because of the significance of Bullard Road and the off-ramp, it's proposed that this be an 8-lane or at least 4-lane northbound, which means that the width required for this particular road is more generous than any that I'm aware of in the city. So therefore, there are 2 things that need to be identified and specified to help clarify what we're really agreeing to by this stipulation. We think it's inappropriate that particularly for the off-ramp, where the off-ramp was part of the funding for Proposition 400, that we have to convey without cost to ADOT or to whomever of the additional right-of-way from 65 feet to 90 feet. We understand also that because of our agreement and conversation with staff that the additional lanes of pavement that would be northbound from the interchange will be the responsibility of the city. In terms of the cost, we continue in an effort with city staff to make ourselves available in terms of coordinating the overall improvements, and I think we've demonstrated by everyone that's been involved in not only Bullard Road, but McDowell Road and Pebble Creek Parkway, that we will continue to be certainly available to help coordinate. In some cases, we've actually paid all of the engineering costs to make these roads possible. So we need clarification on that. The next one is 8, and this particular has to do with driveway alignment. And I don't know what to do about this. I've brought this up several times, but stipulation 8 remains. Let's see if we can bring it in a little closer. Stipulation 8 has to do with trying to gain some type of alignment between this driveway and this driveway. This is a condo office project that is not a Suncor project, but it certainly is ahead in terms of entitlement. And then this is our property. The driveways are offset. Now, what I've said to staff is that 145th Avenue is a regular Palm Valley right-of-way from the standpoint of it will be 2 lanes and then a middle control lane without a median. So you can turn left. It's a control lane because you can turn left in either direction into the driveways. And because of the offset, there's enough room to accommodate that. And the other factor is that the road does not continue to the south beyond the retention basins because of the I-10 freeway. And so I don't know what to do about that. If we're going to have a major user here, it's inappropriate to try to line this driveway into that building and circumvent all the traffic that could utilize this road, 145th Avenue, that will have a light, will have turn lanes, and will be a great access point off of McDowell. So it can be done. I think it meets all the engineering standards, but it does not. We can't align it. There's nothing we can do about that alignment. The other one is stipulation 12. Let's see. No, we can deal with that. Although on stipulation 12, I would suggest that if we're the first one in, that we will have some type of payback agreement in terms of extending the lines from those also that will utilize the lines, those on the west side of Bullard Road. The council probably knows that the city providing service to this site is new. In terms of the overall development of Palm Valley, all of the lines were put in for Lipsco that would accommodate this site and are there and available. But because of the desires of the city to serve this site, we're putting in a dual system. And so I think it would be justified that we would at least have the ability, if we're the first one in, to have payback on part of those lines that we extend because of the city's change in direction. The other one is stipulation 26 that, as you went through tonight, there is a water resource fee. I don't have a problem dedicating this surface water right that belongs to this property to the city if we get an offset in terms of some resource fee. It's very rare that a property comes with wet water, and it's not just your ordinary water, it's renewable water. It's a surface water right that is delivered through the RID. So we would look for some type of an offset in terms of that particular cost.
Which stipulation was that again?
That was stipulation 26. And with that, Mayor and members of the council, we really do appreciate the efforts. This, I think, is one of the best projects, if not the best project we've presented today. Thank you.
Thank you. We're asking Harvey to return to respond to those. And first, are there any comments from the public? Okay, seeing none, is this an ordinance? Ask the clerk to read the ordinance by title only, please.
The council will consider adopting ordinance 06-996, providing for conditional rezoning of approximately 51 acres of property generally located at the southeast corner of Bullard Avenue and McDowell Road from the agricultural district to the final planned area development mixed-use commercial district for a commercial development known as the At-Home District, amending supplemental zoning map number 05-216 to provide for the change in zoning, provide separability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, so we'll be working on the ordinance first, and then we'll proceed to the comprehensive sign package. Anybody?
Motion,
Commissioner Liger? Okay.
motion to accept ordinance 2006-996 as read by the clerk.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Antonia. All right, if we have Harvey respond to those now, or?
Yeah, that'd be great. Or do they need, Mayor, do they need a few minutes, maybe the appropriate time to take?
Well, let's see what he thinks here.
I see him bouncing.
Mayor, council members, in response to Mr. Ellingston's comments, stipulation number 2, easement versus ownership. I understand his concern with easement. The city need to purchase this property from the developer since
Harvey, speak up.
the city would need to purchase this property from the developer if we're going to use it for a trail system that would benefit the city. It's part of our parks and open space plan where we show trails along the I-10, and if it's purely for the benefit of the city, the drainage pipe, though, is for McFlood, and we may be able to get some compensation from McFlood for the drainage pipe. But if we're going to use it for a trail, then the city would need to purchase it for its own benefit from the developer.
Harvey, just a point. I think that Jay's offering dedication of the land in exchange for development fees.
One consideration.
Let's go that approach.
If they're purchased either through cash or through development fee credits, would be fine.
Was this stipulation new since P&Z, or was it in a different form at P&Z?
It's in somewhat a different format. We use the word dedicate. The word bothered Jay, dedicate. I've seen dedicate be used, and even though you dedicate something, you still get credits for it or you still get cash. It doesn't necessarily mean it's given with no compensation, and the developer wanted to clarify that. In regards to the Bullard Road right-of-way, what we'd ask is the developer would dedicate.
Is that number 4?
I'm sorry, number 4. Number 4 is, I believe, Bullard Road right-of-way dedication. That would be, we'd ask the developer would dedicate, would be standard, would be a 65-foot half-street right-of-way. So that would be on the developer's nickel. And so anything over and above that, the city or ADOT, we'd seek reimbursement from ADOT for the difference between the 65 and the 90 feet of right-of-way. And our transportation development fees do cover the Bullard interchange. So yes, we're okay with compensating him for the difference between 65 and 90. In terms of the driveway alignment to the property to the east, since there's not a hard median and it's just the suicide line, we can just delete stipulation number 8.
You can do what?
You can delete stipulation number 8. This offset.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We can live with the offset since there is no median in that area, and you can delete stipulation number 8. We are fine with stipulation number 12, payback or cost recovery. Payback agreement is fine. Not a problem with that.
We've done that in the past, haven't we?
Yes, Ms. Mayor, Councilman Sousa. Yes, we have done cost recovery and payback agreements.
Is this our CCNN area? I'm confused.
Yes, this area south of McDowell is the city of Goodyear's water and sewer area.
But we don't have lines extended up there north of the freeway yet, or do we?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have a water line in Bullard Road, and it goes east to the McLean facility.
So it goes up to Bullard and then down McDowell to...
Yeah. The thing that is missing is the sewer connection, And there's a series of properties on the south side of McDowell that would be all a part to this cost recovery opportunity that we've been talking about.
Where are you looking?
Okay.
Oh, there. There you go. The green area is City of Goodyear service area. Yellow area.
No,
No,
no. Green area is Lipscomb. The white area would be.
we're white.
The map's wrong then.
No, the whole area, so this is ours.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What, this area right here is ours. Stipulation number 26, water resource fee credits. If there's anytime there's a well that's provided to the city or water retirement of water rights, the city is basically by ordinance basically mandated to give the developer credit. So by ordinance, we need to give him an offset for water resource fee credits. So that's actually no problem at all. It's just standard practice.
Is this, so are you agreeing?
Yes, going to credits.
We're agreeing that you may just summarize stipulation number 2, that the
No, on 26, and then we'll go back again.
number 26, that we would provide water resource fee credits for any wet water or water retirement of water rights that are provided to the city.
So how does that revise 26 then?
I think I'll speak for the developer. I think the developer was just seeking clarification to make sure that
It's all right the way it is written with the verbal clarification, or?
Mayor, members of the council, yes, if that's standard because we have not gone down this road before.
Okay.
We don't know what the common operating procedure is, so with that on the record, I'm comfortable with it. Thank you.
Okay, okay, so we have a motion.
We have a motion, but I have a question.
Yeah, no, wait, I'm getting, okay, right now, go for it. Okay. Open for discussion?
Yeah, I'm just a little confused, Harvey. How did we get into modifying stipulations at this time when there's really no discussion? Why wasn't this done prior to presenting this to council? Because they're not issues that are up for debate.
Mayor, Councilman, Member Scott, there was discussion and some debate on these items over the past few weeks. They just culminated here at this point in time.
Okay.
He just wants clarification, the developer just wants clarification.
That's correct. Most of them are just clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then just before we go continue around, on number 2, basically we're changing that from an easement to a dedication of land for development fee reimbursement. Is that correct?
And we're going to give credits.
And then number 4 is we'll compensate the difference
Between the
cost,
65 and 90.
compensate for the difference in 65 to 90. Correct. And number 8 we'll delete. Number 12 is
Payback.
we will provide cost recovery on that. And number 26 is okay the way it's written as it's been verbally clarified. But agreed?
Yes.
Okay, continue discussion.
About these issues or just issues
Yeah,
in general?
the overall, yeah, the
Okay.
issue in general.
Yeah. You know, from the standpoint of the pylon signs, I appreciate, you know, you're going from 2 to 1. I hope that other developers take the same attitude.
But yeah, that's the next
I
one.
beg your pardon. I'm sorry.
No, you're right, it's been discussed by the briefer,
Yeah.
but we're voting on one at a time.
Do you need an amendment on what you just stated on 2, 4, 8, 12, and 26?
Yes, I will.
Get-
Is there any further discussion, or pretty happy with what we have?
Okay, the way you just represented it was.
Okay, all right. Would you like to make a
Do you need
motion?
I mean, if I'll agree with the understanding that
That's part of the motion, if the motion maker agrees.
The motion's already out on the floor. You can modify the motion, make an amendment to the motion.
I think we need to make an amendment.
I'd move that we make an amendment then to stipulation number 2, clarify that we are reimbursing with development fees at dedication of property. Number 4, same in regards to the difference between 65 and 90 feet.
Right.
We delete number 8.
Right.
12, that there's cost recovery credited, pardon me.
Yeah, the payback.
Is it development fee reimbursement?
Number 8.
Mm-hmm.
I said number 8, delete, but are you looking for?
Payback, right?
Eight is gone.
Payback or cost.
Okay, so payback or cost recovery regarding the water infrastructure that's being installed, and with the understanding on stipulation 26, clarified as was stated on the record a few moments ago.
Offset credits.
Offset water resource fee credits.
Okay, we have a motion. Did you get that, Lynn, really well?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a motion and a
Second motion.
second. This is a motion to amend the motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. We'll now get to the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion? Okay, and this was an ordinance? Okay, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Antonia?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland? Aye. Councilmember Lord?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Souza?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, we'll take a break right after this one. We'll just finish this up. Is that all right?
Yes.
Comprehensive sign package.
George and I.
Okay, we've had the presentation. Any public comment on the comprehensive sign package? Okay, can I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve comprehensive sign package for the at-home PAD as proposed.
Motion from Councilmember Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Souza. Councilmember Souza, comment?
Well, you had my comment earlier, top and focus, but I do appreciate your concession on that. And again, I hope that other developers follow your lead, because as I say time and time again, pylon signs on I-10 really takes away the value of this city, and it just, too many of them are just going to create an eyesore for us to live with. So, thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Just clarification that the neon halo and internal face lighted means that they're cutout lights with lighted from behind, right? Or cut out.
Yes.
It's lighted from behind. Okay. Not a big plastic thing as was done previously. Yeah, I just want to make sure.
The wind can blow out.
Okay,
Yeah.
seeing no further, just one question, Mr. Ellingson. Could you just explain in specific terms, what does at-home district really mean?
Mayor, members of the council, at home was a focus that we had in trying to make this home improvement center. Things that you would see on North Scottsdale Road was the emphasis. It's premature to say that we're there, but we have a lot of interest in that regard, and we'll continue to work that. We will have other things, but that's what it's all about.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jay, if I may, give us my idea of what type of store you'd like to have in here. You referred to Scottsdale as general. Give us an idea of what you anticipate is going to be in this location. It's going to be beneficial to Goodyear.
Mayor, Councilmember Sousa, it's our desire that on North Scottsdale Road, around even including a lot of the area that is south of 101, there are a lot of home furnishings, including furniture stores. There are accessory stores. There are specialty stores for furniture, those kinds of things. Now, it won't be exclusively that in terms of the focus, but it could be a major emphasis, and that's why we came up with the name. The other types of uses could be things that are to help offset some of the shopping nuances from women to men in terms of things that the men can do, maybe too. So.
And you're not thinking about Home Depot?
No. No, it's not a Home Depot.
Thank you. Hey, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0, and why don't we break? It's still got quite a bit ahead of us, I'm afraid. And how about 8 o'clock? We'll go till 8 o'clock?
Okay. Dash.
30 seconds.
Back a big cooler full of dry ice and all your fish. Nice meeting you too.
I'm not even sure that's right. They have control of
See, which one are we on?
We're on E. Water.
A lot of it is very advanced discussion with regard to computers.
I just might. Okay. Does somebody have dibs on when you finish?
No, I'll give it to you when I'm finished with it.
Yeah,
we're on the water wastewater system reliability. E is an echo.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to 9E and consider 4 contracts concerning the city's efforts to improve water and wastewater system reliability. Jim Nichols.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. I am here to talk to you about 4 contracts related to water and wastewater projects in the city. As you may recall, several months ago, you approved a contract with EUSI to conduct program management services for the city. That firm headed up by Paul Hendricks. Recently, about 2 months ago, you authorized several other water wastewater contracts, and at the time, Paul indicated he'd be coming back to you with more. Well, this is the evening, and this is not the end, but this is the next phase in our water and wastewater work. So I'd like to introduce Paul Hendricks to come up and give you more details on the projects that we'll be asking for your authorization on this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This evening you have 4 contracts before you. Elmo, please. First contract is with Kiewit, I believe, on your agenda item. They will be providing design, build, construction services for a number of pipelines throughout the city. Each of these projects has been reviewed and is consistent with the capital project and the other water and wastewater system improvements. We might highlight one of the projects is associated with Brine Line from Site 11 over by the airport down to the 157th Avenue site. There's another projects this evening being presented for your review and approval. Mr. Mayor, would you like me to go through each of them individually as you approve those?
Can we just do all 4? One time?
Okay. The second this evening is a contract with Kennedy Jenks Consultants for brine management study and the first phase design of brine evaporation ponds. One of the main byproducts from the reverse osmosis treatment equipment, which processes the brackish water, which many of our wells in our water system have a high salt content, in order to make that water palatable and also to meet the safe drinking water standards for a number of other parameters. A reverse osmosis treatment is the most cost-effective. The byproduct from that is a concentrate brine stream. Current technology is to construct evaporation ponds intended to be constructed near the 157th Avenue site. We also are going to be evaluating technologies so that we don't have to construct too many of those on into the future, because this will be a long-term commitment as we utilize wells that have to have desalting. The third project is consistent with the King Ranch development, upgrading capacity at the Corrigan wastewater reclamation facility. This would be a design-build project. The fees associated with this project will be reimbursed through a reimbursement agreement with King Ranch, providing an additional 1.7 million gallons of capacity to a current 0.8 million gallon per day facility. The facility will be master planned to a total of 5 million gallons per day of capacity with all of the appropriate planning associated with that. This will handle the build-out of the proposed King Ranch development and the future developments in the area are intended to serve Newland communities for a maximum of 2.8 million gallons from their communities, and they will be coming forward as development occurs with additional expansion projects, but the master planning is such to accommodate both of those master plan communities so that we go forward in an economical manner. The last contract is an additional contract with Lane Christian Drilling Services to drill up to 6 wells. As you know, in order to add the new water production capacity, we're having to drill a number of new wells. Some of these wells are replacement wells to existing agricultural wells. Other wells are brand new wells throughout the city. Some of these wells will be funded through reimbursement agreements, and others will be paid for out of the user fees, impact fees in the central planning area. All 4 of these projects are part of the Mission Critical Project list and are consistent with the Capacity Enhancement Program, which has been reviewed and approved, the strategic plan that the Council reviewed some time ago. And as Mr. Nichols indicated, we'll be back in about a month with another grouping of projects so that we have a balance between new water production capacity, treatment, storage, distribution, and then wastewater collection and treatment capacity. We are on schedule for having reserve capacity of approximately 2 million gallons per day during our peak day this summer with the projects which you've approved and these other projects which are ongoing, as compared to the amount of demand projected with the growth as compared to the existing production capacity. On our average day demand, we have almost 4 million gallons of reserve capacity. So those are starting to get to be the kinds of numbers that will give us a little bit more comfort, but we still have a little ways to go. I'd entertain any questions at this point.
Okay, thank you. It's open to the public now to comment on any one of the 4 contracts. We have 4 separate contracts. Are there any comments on any of them? Okay, seeing none, would the council agree that we would take all up in one motion? Any objection? Okay, could I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, council approve 4 contracts related to the city ongoing efforts to improve water and wastewater system reliability and increase water production and wastewater treatment capacity to support the continued development within the city. So moved.
I think we need to mention,
we need
to mention each one.
Okay.
And the dollar value.
All right. Read all of them then?
Yes,
Just the company.
just the company and the dollar value.
Okay. And contract number 1 to Keyway Western Company in the amount of $18,921,256.
Those are not to exceed numbers.
No, not to exceed.
Not to exceed that amount. Okay. Item number 2 be to Kennedy Jenks Consultants in an amount not to exceed $1,563,197 for Brine Management. Number 3 to Courier Construction Incorporated, an amount not to exceed $14,620,000. And item number 4 to Lane Christians and Company in an amount of $3 million, not to exceed $3 million.
Okay, can I have a motion?
Second.
A motion from Councilmember Souza and a second from Councilmember Scott to approve the 4 contracts to Kiewit, Kennedy, Courier, and Lane. Are there any discussion items? Yes, sir.
Just a couple of questions. On number 3, on the Corget wastewater, or Corget water reclamation facility, just want to ensure that, that's in close proximity to a lot of homes. Want to make sure that the staff is going to execute some sort of public awareness to those folks that are directly, they're right across the wash from a lot of people's backyards.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman, yes, part of the project is to be sure that the facility is fully noise abated and odor abated, as well as follow the P2 process for notice.
Okay. And then second question on that one. They have, not because of the proximity, but as a standard practice, do all our contractors have to follow, I assume they have to follow the same ordinances that any construction would follow in terms of the time of day that they do construction and what have you?
That is correct.
And last, on Elaine Christensen, $3 million for 6 wells?
It's-
Negotiate that one?
This is a not to exceed, and depending upon the depth, if we're able to go 800 feet instead of 1,500 feet, then we'll be able to get more
We're going to get
wells.
6 wells for not to exceed $3 million. obviously.
Absolutely. And also, it's on a unit cost basis per foot, and those numbers have been reviewed and compared to other drilling services. And we don't have to issue a new contract if they get a little bit loose on their unit costs. We evaluate those with every well.
My point only in that is $500,000 a well is a pretty good cost. I mean, that ought to be noted here that you negotiated a pretty fair price.
Thank you.
Councilmember Souza?
Yes.
Is there any advantage going deeper, drilling deeper to get better water? to the city?
In certain locations, deeper is better. We have found with the Canyon Trails well that we recently did exploratory boring on, that we went to 2,300 feet, which is the deepest we've ever gone. It did not yield better water. In fact, it got higher in temperature, higher in salt content. And so we are finding that a well in the area of 800 to 1,200 feet in depth is yielding the best cross-section of water-bearing aquifer.
So that the salt content, no matter how deep you're going to go, is still there.
It actually seems to get more concentrated, higher salt levels as you go deeper. In fact, one of the alternatives that will be considered under one of the contracts for the brine management is to look at drilling a very deep well into the salt dome and using that as a potential management scheme for brine.
And this condition is not exclusive to the city of Goodyear, is it?
No, it isn't, sir.
Thank you very much.
Councilmember Holland?
I just wanted to mention that the mayor and I are the reps to the Water Committee, and all the things that are presented tonight are actually in keeping with our project plan, so we're on target.
Does this $3 million include RO, or is that extra?
That's just for drilling, sir, Mayor and Councilman. We have some other projects which will be coming forward as soon as we define the water quality from some of the new wells that are being developed. We'll know exactly what level of treatment is required and recommended. We'll be coming back for individual projects in that regard.
Okay, we have a motion to award the contracts to the 4 companies mentioned. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you. Now move to Goodyear Community Park. The public, the council discussed this for about 45 minutes in a work session prior to this city council meeting. So some of the discussion will reflect those comments, I'm sure.
Mayor Kavanaugh, members of council, we're here tonight to recommend the award of a construction contract for Phase 2 of the Goodyear Community Park, which is at Thomas and Litchfield Roads. Between the time this council communication was written and tonight, we've been having ongoing discussions with Maricopa County trying to obtain the permit for the splash pad. Based on those discussions and assurances from our consultant and from the county that we can acquire that permit in a timely manner, we'd like to recommend award of option number 2, which is award of the base bid, bid alternate number 1, which is a splash pad, bid alternate number 2, which is a skate park, and an amount of $5,167,198.50 to F&F Construction, and we request that you authorize a transfer of funds in the amount of $941,096.50. That'll answer any questions you may have.
So we need to be referring back to the work session document, don't we?
Right.
State that number again, Don?
Excuse me?
We recommend on option number 3.
We're award option number 2. The base bid and both bid alternates, the splash pad and the skate park.
That's right.
Okay, do we have any comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve, or, pardon me, I move that we award option number 2, base bid and bid alternates number 1 and number 2 in the amount of $5.1671981.5 million to F&F Construction and authorize transfer of funds in the amount of $941,096.50.
A second.
Just for clarity, to include the splash park as part of.
All three
the-
of them.
Yeah, all three of them.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Lord. Open for discussion. Councilmember Scott.
Okay, now, do we have to, at this time, specify, offer the specifics with regard to the recirculation pump in the splash park? Do we want to get into that?
Yes.
That's going to affect this contract, obviously.
Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilmember Scott, we bid the splash pad with the recirculating system.
Oh, it's already included. Okay,
Yes.
good.
So you would seek a change order, or you would seek potentially changing that if you decided to go that route?
No, it's already in there.
It's already- okay.
Go the other way.
If we went the other route. That's
So that's included here now. So we don't need any more motions there, but we still need clarification from Maricopa County with regard to whether or not we get a waiver on this. Who's going to initiate that? Can action from the council do that, or will you just do it?
Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilmember Scott, we've already done that. We've already applied for it. Well, actually, it'll go in tomorrow, applying for the variance and the hearing. And we've been assured that we can receive the variances within 5 weeks, so that wouldn't delay our contractor.
Oh, good, that's great. Would you get that back to us when you do receive their reply? Thank you. Good.
Councilmember Souza.
Mr. Mayor, I know the value of this project, but I'm going to vote no on it, basically for this reason. As was pointed out by the two people that addressed us during the work session about the safety factors that are inherent with the addition of BMW usage in the skate park. These safety issues concern me no end. Okay. If it was just the skate park that we're considering, I'd certainly vote for the entire package. But because we are including the bikes, BMW bikes in here, and the safety factors that were pointed out to us during the course of the work session, I'm going to have to vote no on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, I'm not sure that,
BMX.
I know, but I'm not sure we can do that. The council's already approved.
We approved that.
We've already approved it, so.
No, but he can still vote down this.
The final.
Yeah, yeah.
Not approving any money for the...
Yeah.
I mean, the money, the funds for it.
No, it could. Further discussion?
Staff's going to put together, I mean, it's not going to lay the debate to bed, but staff's going to put together a proper set of rules and procedures that reflect the needs, wishes, and wants of the folks who will be using the park, as well as come back to us 2 months into the use of the park and give us a report of what's been going on, and at that point in time, we can decide if we want to revoke the privilege of one party over another for the skate park, correct?
Mayor Kavanaugh, Councilmember Antoniak, that's correct. And council, if you wish to continue debating the BMX issue, would have the entire construction time to decide on the operational issues. And Brian Barnes would come back and present the park rules. And at that time, you could decide whichever way you prefer on operating it.
Okay. Further discussion? I'll be joining Councilmember Souza in the no vote too, because of the concern I have for safety and opening a skate park to BMX uses. Rest assured that both of us support BMX uses, but just not in this particular case. Okay, All those in favor of the motion to approve Phase 2 of the Goodyear Community Park, and that was award option number 2, is that correct?
Yes.
All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Okay, it's 5-2 vote, the ayes have it. Okay, we'll now move to consider a comprehensive sign package for Southwest Specialty Foods and Harvey Krause.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, members of the audience. This particular item has quite a history, and I'll give you a brief background on it. The property in question is Southwest Specialty Foods, which is located on Bullard Avenue, just about a quarter of a mile north of Van Buren, on the west side of Bullard Road, south of I-10. This is the site plan. The property was rezoned when the applicant relocated from his Glendale facility, which he outgrew, to Goodyear. He rezoned approximately 12 acres along the Bullard Road frontage, and then the property, the I-1 property, was rezoned for his facility, which he operates Southwest Specialty Foods there, which grows habanero chilies in the rear here of the facility, manufactures products with Southwest Specialty Foods label, and then reserved a commercial site which is vacant at the present time, which is for future development. The applicant has, this is the facility, currently has a wall sign on the building, but he has no freestanding sign. And by the zoning code, he would be allowed to put a freestanding sign out by Bullard Road that would be 8 feet high and 32 square feet. And as council's aware, the zoning ordinance allows the council to deviate from the standards, the zoning standards when it comes to signage through a comprehensive sign package. And when is a comprehensive sign package required is when 3 or more users in a commercial or industrial development, in a unified development, come forward. They are required to submit a comprehensive sign package. And the applicant is asked to exceed the 8 feet high, 32 square feet quite a bit. And the only vehicle that would allow the council to approve a sign like this is through a comprehensive sign package. And the justification for allowing a comprehensive sign package is, once again, there's a couple users. We're looking at a future user with C2. It could be multiple users on C2. There is the manufacturing facility as well as a retail store that the owner has where he sells his products to the public. So given those set of facts, the applicant has submitted a comprehensive sign package to accommodate a freestanding sign, one freestanding sign that's larger than 8 feet and 32 square feet. In fact, the sign is considerably larger. It is 32 feet high and 263 square feet with a three-dimensional donkey on top. The sign that the applicant wishes to place would straddle the entrance of the development. This is the driveway off Bullard. It goes back, and this is the parking for the facility, and it would be in this location. And the sign would, these are the dimensions of the sign. The height being 32 from ground up to the top of this, the donkey, which is three-dimensional, which is 8 by 10 feet. The total square footage being 263 square feet. The gift shop being advertised as well. The Planning Commission, based upon the extent of the size of this sign and its impact on adjacent properties, staff notified adjacent property owners and prior to the Planning Commission consideration of this particular item. And at the Planning Commission held hearings on this particular item on February 16th, March 16th, and also on August 16th of 2005 last year, which in August it culminated in a vote, a recommendation of approval on a vote of 4-2, with Chairman Horstman and Commissioner Locks voting against it since it did not meet the standards. At that particular meeting, the applicant, we heard from a member of the owner of Goodyear Commerce Center, which is located south of Southwest Specialty Foods, Jim Penrod. We received an email who was in support of the sign. We also received a letter from Pastor Greg Brown of the Skyway Church, who had no problem with the sign. We also heard from Sean Corey of Snyder's, who expressed support for the sign. We also heard from Ken Wood, who also expressed support for the sign. We then also heard from Fred Stiles of EJM, a industrial developer in the area, as you're aware, as well as Eric Cornwell, who is also an industrial developer in the general area, who expressed concerns on the sign. With that input, the commission still voted in favor of the sign. Staff had recommended denial of the sign package at that time for 3 reasons. I'll summarize the 3 reasons. Essentially, primary reason was that this sign represented what we call what is known as a pole-mounted sign, primarily. It's very faded here, but there's poles along with a rock base. We didn't feel like that met the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance in regards to a substantial base to a sign, and we didn't feel like it met the quality and is representative of the quality of the type of signs that have been approved by the City of Goodyear since the 1990, or since the adoption of the zoning code in the mid-'80s. These pole signs were pretty popular in the 1960s and 1970s, and we have several in our community, and I'll show those in a PowerPoint here in a minute. So based on that, the staff felt that we couldn't support this particular sign. Second of all, the sign package failed to address future sign requirements on the site. As I indicated, there's a commercial parcel on the site. There is, which has the potential to have the need for signage in the future, and this particular sign doesn't accommodate those uses in the future. Typically, a sign this large is usually a multi-tenant sign, much like you have at the Target Center, where you have multiple businesses being advertised, the size of the sign. The applicant recently, Friday, submitted a new design, which took the comments of staff and upgraded the poles somewhat. Staff, as I indicated, got this on Fridays after the packets were assembled and distributed, so unable to put that in your packet or provide you any kind of analysis on the sign. I understand through conversations with the applicant's attorney that these poles are 24 to 36 inches in width. Staff still feels that the sign package aspects have not been addressed. What's going to happen in the future in terms of the commercial parcel? How is that commercial parcel going to get signage? So there are risks with approving this particular sign at this time without a more comprehensive approach. And with that, I'd like to direct your attention to a PowerPoint, if Jeff could provide that. And I'll just run down. I just wanted to give you some flavor for what types of signs that the staff has approved since the mid-'90s with development. This is a 32-foot high sign, the Target, and this is what is called a multi-tenant freestanding sign, which is allowed by right to be 48 square feet and 8 feet high, but of course this is much larger because it was part of a comprehensive sign package and a way to attract Target in the mid-'90s before the market was right for Target. Do I need to provide? There. So that gives you some, I don't know how fair that scale is, but that's sort of the scale there. I'll go through these fairly quickly. This is on the west side of Litchfield Road, and this particular sign, just for scale, is 15 feet high. And this is also, again, a multi-tenant sign, part of a complex. I don't know why am I going backwards. Am I going forwards? The landscaping looks good. That's one thing. This is at the north west corner of Dysart and McDowell, where the Tudor Time is. This is another sign that's been recently approved, just to give you some Hampton Inn. Washington Federal, I'll go through these fairly quickly. McLean, a fairly large structure, over, I think it's about half a million square feet. Snyder's, another large facility in the neighborhood just north of Southwest Specialty Foods.
How big is that one?
Mayor, I'm not sure. I believe it's, I doubt if it's more than 12 feet high. I doubt if it's that much. It looks like it's 8 or. This sign is 12 feet high, Safeway. It's 12 feet high.
12 feet from ground or grade? I mean, like, you know, in the sense of, is it 12 feet from the sidewalk height?
It's from the grade.
Because that's not as big. Snyder's is not that big.
Snyder's is not as big. I doubt if Snyder's is, I think Snyder's is about 8 feet high. But they do have a fairly large wall sign because of the size of the building. These are 8 feet or less. I'll stop on this one just for a minute. This is across the street. Well, it's at the corner of Litchfield and Van Buren. It's across from City Hall. This used to be a pole-mounted sign many years ago, and worked with the owner of that particular shopping center and did a sign package and retrofitted that. And this is the sign. So we got rid of that pole-mounted sign and got this sign in place to upgrade it. And that particular development's been around for several years.
1963.
63.
Or 73.
73. Albertsons. These are examples of pole-mounted signs in our community right now. The Waffle House, Goodyear Tire and Rubber, and S&S Tire. This is a pole-mounted sign, and we just, if someone came in and proposed that today, we would not approve that. That does not meet our design standards. Most cities in the valley do not allow signs like this, and a lot of cities across the country don't allow signs like this anymore. Like I said, they were popular in the 1960s and 1970s, and so I think that concludes the PowerPoint presentation. So with that said, staff recommends that the council not approve the sign package as presented, and the applicant would like to speak. He's being represented this evening by Charles Kellerhofer. It's Mr. and Mrs. Jeff Jacobs are the applicant.
Okay, thank you. Opportunity for the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City of Goodyear Council. My name is Charles Kellerhofer of the law firm of Ridenauer, Heighton, Kellerhofer, Lewis, and Garth at 201 North Central Avenue, Chase Tower, Phoenix. I represent Southwest Specialty Foods. On August 17th of this past year, the Goodyear Planning Commission approved the the sign package that we are submitting tonight. Jeff and Linda Jacobs, the owners of Southwest Specialty Foods, are in attendance tonight. These are good, solid citizens of your community. They're involved in quite a bit of charitable work, including establishing a YMCA in this area. They have been very, very involved in both the community and in their business. Southwest Specialty Foods has been in business for over 20 years, specializing in snack foods with a kick. Their slogan, "Ass Kicking with a Donkey with his kicking up his heels," is both a slogan and is both a warning and an invitation to individuals that like something a little spicier in life. If you've ever tasted any of their products, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They are pepper-based products that are grown at the facility on Bullard Avenue. Their annual sales has reached $5 million a year. In the late 1990s, they were solicited by Goodyear to relocate their facility from Glendale pursuant to a development agreement. They purchased 80 acres out on Bullard Avenue and have invested over $10 million into this community. They believe that the sign package that they are requesting is extremely important to expanding and growing their business in your community. They brought a lot of positive publicity to the city of Goodyear. They've helped spread the word about the city of Goodyear. The city of Goodyear's name is on all of their products that go around the world. They were recently as November 10th, recognized in the Business Journal as a company that is red hot on the front page of the Business Journal. And as Mrs. Jacobs mentioned in that article, every product they sell around the world has the name City of Goodyear on it. So they're quite good ambassadors. We understand the city itself uses their identity in some of its promotional materials. We think it's very important that the council understand the area that their facility is located in. This is a photograph of their physical plant with their peppers in production all along Bullard Avenue. This is an agricultural area. We're now moving closer to the facility. You can see their facility. And what it has a unique combination of agricultural, retail, and manufacturing all in one location. As you can see from the photograph there, if you've been along there, there's a large corral that they house mules and donkeys in to, again, give it more of a ranch type flavor. They do have a fully operational gift shop in their facility, but from the road you would not know that that gift shop exists. In their gift shop, it's fully stocked with all their products, plus a lot of novelty items and T-shirts and souvenirs for the public, all of which carry the name of Goodyear, Arizona. The sign that we are proposing is a ranch type sign that is well recognized for over 150 years throughout the West in front of ranches. That's the look that they're trying to get for their facility. The reason that they want this sign is so that they can continue that theme and also to let people know that the gift shop is there. The dimensions are, as Mr. Kraus has indicated, ranch-style signs are still prevalent throughout rural areas of the West. We believe that the sign is entirely consistent with the agricultural look of the facility and the large corral out in front housing the donkeys and the mules. And as noted, this 80-acre parcel has 3 different zoning overlays, including industrial, commercial, and agricultural, and it's quite a unique combination of business and agribusiness, and is the primary reason that they understand they were solicited to come to Goodyear, Arizona. This local business employs residents of Goodyear's and believes the sign as presented is extremely important to continuing to grow and expand their business here in Goodyear. While some may not appreciate the humor of the sign, it must be remembered this is a very unique business, and the sign exemplifies the uniqueness of this agribusiness. They envision the sign ultimately being a landmark within your city, and it will be a tourist destination where people will want to come by and have themselves photographed before this sign. The sign will be placed in such a way that it will be set back from the road so that there will not be any danger at all to the motoring public. I know the council is certainly aware of the purpose of the regulations regulating signage in the city, and the purpose is to enhance the visual environment of the city of Goodyear and also to promote businesses, and we believe this sign meets that purpose. The intent is to establish the identification, minimize visual clutter, and maintain a high quality of signs. This is an extremely high quality sign. This sign will cost over $50,000. The three-dimensional donkey on top itself costs $25,000. It is made of all the state-of-the-art materials. It will have an 8-inch I-beam running through the sign. They have incorporated certainly the look of their building into the sign. And with the use of this sign, they believe that their retail store will become a destination for folks visiting Goodyear, and people will take away a very good impression of the city of Goodyear. The stipulations that have been proposed and which were adopted by the Planning Commission are entirely acceptable. Those are that they would need to obtain a building permit to make sure this thing is properly inspected as it's being built. It would incorporate the address, which they have done. The sign will not be placed within the 30-foot front yard setback. That is acceptable. The background colors for the sign match the building itself. The limitation on freestanding signs, I know that was a concern of Mr. Krause's, but until the remainder of the property develops, it's hard to come up with a comprehensive sign package to handle what those anticipated needs would be. They certainly recognize that they would need to come back before this body and when that property is ultimately developed. The height would be a maximum of 32 feet. And I know that sounds like a lot, but that's really from the ground to the tip of the donkey's tail. And with its open area there, it doesn't, I don't believe, will not appear to be as large as what is discussed. You've seen there are other large signs within the city of Goodyear, and I just show the council some of those other signs. Some of these are quite substantial, and we recognize that while some of those have been grandfathered in, it certainly does give a bit of the character of what is acceptable within the town from time to time. They have met with the city staff to go over this sign. We emphasize, again, this is an agricultural area, and this sign is entirely consistent with an agricultural area. And that is basically our presentation. If any member of the council would have any questions with regard to that. It is a pole-mounted sign, but by nature a ranch-style sign has to be on poles. As far as the quality of the materials, they're of the highest state-of-the-art, and as far as the future consideration of additional uses, we believe that would be more appropriate when that time comes. We do have a letter that was mentioned by Mr. Krause from Skyway Church endorsing the sign. Snyder's has also endorsed the sign, and the RDB, the developer on the corner there at Van Buren and and Bullard has also endorsed the sign. So we would ask for approval of the sign as we have submitted, and if you have any questions of myself or the Jacobs, we'd be happy to answer those for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any comments from the public on this one? Mr. Gelser?
Can I have the MOA, please? My name's Gary Gelser. I'm a member of the Planning Commission. I live at 14971 West Pinchot Avenue in Goodyear. I am speaking in favor of this sign. One of the reasons I want to discuss this with you is I think some of the context of the other signs that you have seen and been exposed to is very different from the context of where this sign will be located. If you look at the map, this is Bullard Avenue right here where my finger is. And this is all an industrial corridor. You have had an industrial development study presented to the council last fall on how to enhance the Bullard entrance. You're going to have a entrance from the Interstate 10 being built there very shortly, and as a result, Bullard Avenue to the south will become more developed. The general plan calls for industrial development all the way down to the entrance to the airport. The signs that the development director showed you previously were all signs that were on commercial streets, not industrial streets. This gives this property a unique aspect that makes it a reason to allow a pole sign in this development. The sign is not on a commercial street. It is not deviating from our standards. If anything, it's enhancing the uniqueness of the city of Goodyear. We need more originality. We need less boring, beige sameness. And so, as a result of the fact that, one, it is located on an industrial area, two, the area is designated as an agricultural business area by the city 5 years ago. These are all reasons to allow a sign of this nature in this area. And I hope you will take that into context. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Further comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Megan Creasy. I'm from EJM Development. Our address is 7419 East Helm Drive, Suite E, Scottsdale, Arizona, 85260. Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. As you're aware, we own approximately 221 acres directly across from the Southwest Specialty Foods location, as well as 232 acres on the south side of Van Buren. We currently own approximately 5 million square feet of commercial projects in Metro Phoenix, and it is our intention to develop quality projects on this site as well. We do not have anything against Southwest Specialty Foods. However, we are opposed to their requested sign as it does not comply with the City of Goodyear sign standards. We don't oppose the City of Goodyear's sign ordinances and guidelines and expect to adhere to the City of Goodyear's requirements when we develop our property, which will include office buildings and other related uses to the employment corridor designation. We respectively request you deny Southwest Specialty Foods sign submittal. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Evening, Mayor, member of council. I'm Eric Cornwell, Cornwell Corporation, 14851 North Scottsdale Road, Suite 203, Scottsdale, 85254. We own the southeast corner of Van Buren and Bullard. I'd kind of like to rebut on what Mr. Gelser said. It's noted that it's an industrial road because of the designation of the property, but as earlier mentioned tonight, you've had the opportunity to consider a piece of property on there for the baseball stadium. With baseball, that doesn't exactly mean that it's an industrial area. You're going to have retail, you're going to have hotel. I think the issue is more of what's the area going to become as pressure gets on top of it, and it's not going to be industrial. You're going to have office buildings. You're going to have higher end. the sign that they've shown tonight is light years past the sign that they first submitted. I think they're well on their way to having a quality sign. I think they should be allowed to have a pole sign at their entrance. That's the nature of their business. I don't know if the sign, the comprehensive sign package necessarily completes all the requirements for the city of Goodyear. That's something that I just am not privy to all the information. But from my standpoint as a landowner nearby, I think they're on their way to having a quality sign. I think they are a quality business in Goodyear. It's simply a matter of what will the nature of the area become in the years ahead. That's all I'd like to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Further comments from the public? Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion, please, to consider approve the comprehensive sign package?
Mr. Mayor, I'd move that we approve comprehensive sign package for Southwest Specialty Foods, generally located north of Van Buren Street and west of Bullard Road in the C2, I1, and AU district.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Scott. It's open for discussion. Councilmember Souza. Mr. Kraus.
How many meetings have you had with the applicant relative to the sign?
Mayor, Councilman Sousa, I believe it. I know it was one possible. I think there was at least two meetings that I'm aware of. I can recall.
In those two meetings, you told them that pole signs are strongly discouraged in the city of Goodyear?
Mayor, Councilman, yes, I did.
And they waited, and they know that you're discouraging this, and then at the last minute, they come in with this design. When was this given to you?
Mayor, Councilman, I believe it was emailed like Friday morning, mid-morning or something, mid-morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And I guess the difference, Harvey, is the breadth of the stands themselves, right? The poles. Is that right? That's been broadened markedly.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Councilmember Holland?
I was just curious, Harvey, about, is this going over the road and we're going to drive under it for the entrance? Is that correct? Or is it a stand on the side of the road? I know it's back from from Bullard, but do we drive under it?
Yes, Mayor, Councilman Holland, yes, you would drive under it. It would go across the driveway.
Okay, but it would be back from the road by how many feet?
30 feet from the property line. They proposed.
Thank you.
Would an 18-wheeler fit under it? Yes, okay. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, there's several things here that I'm concerned about. Number one, lack of any landscaping around it. It doesn't show any landscaping. The fact that a freestanding sign like this, I don't think meets the architectural style that we desire in Goodyear, at least that I don't see as a future of Goodyear. And the fact that I don't see that the sign is giving you any display of your company because the sign faces parallel to the road, to the street Bullard. I would think that a sign that was perpendicular so that it was facing, so you could read it, facing Bullard from either direction would be more effective. The only people who are going to read this sign are these people who have development across the street. And I don't think this is the kind of sign that I'm interested in seeing in Goodyear. So I plan on voting against this.
further comment?
I got a question for that.
Okay.
Maybe for Jeff or Linda or your attorney. Is there any willingness on your part, if this is denied tonight, to come back with alternatives? I mean, I know you have a desire to have a sign on your property, and I came out and discussed it with you in your office, but I just haven't seen a progression in terms of a desire to kind of meet halfway here. And
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Antoniak, there has been quite a bit of progression as far as the quality of the sign, as far as the width of the sign. What they may do in the future, I can't speculate at this time. This is the sign that they feel is important to develop their business, and they're not developers. This is a real company that employs your people, that is trying to expand its business. So this is the sign that they want.
And you just hit the nail on the head, where the person, the person and the business, or pardon me, the participation in the community conflicts with what we hold up in terms of expectations with other companies coming into town and building similar signs. And so that's the challenge that I think many of us are faced with. I mean, I sit side by side with you once a month at the YMCA. And so, I mean, it's tough to look you in the eye and say, we hold the people across the street or down the street to a different standard. But I think for the sake of consistency, I'd like to see you, or I'd like to challenge you, and I said that when I came out to the office, I'd challenge you to try and come up with some sort of middle ground here, and that's where I'm still struggling. So I just wanted to explain my vote prior to voting that way. It's not that it's not that the sign or the style of the sign or the look and the notability and the landmark that you're going for is in disagreement with me, at least. With this, as I always say, with this 14% of the group, I mean, it just doesn't meet. I just don't think it meets the design standards and the expectations that we would hold up for anybody else.
Councilmember Lord?
Yes, first of all, I like your shop. Thank you. It's a great contribution to the community. I go there often. I send gifts from your shop, and I appreciate the industry that you have in Goodyear. But in my short time on the council, I've already encountered a sign problem with the business. And the end result was that they had to take the sign down. It was a great cost to them and loss to them. But because they did not come under the guidelines of our signage, it had to be taken down. So because of the short history I've had, I will be voting this down.
Can I ask what you... Okay, thanks. Then we'll go to you. Can I ask, how long do you intend to keep the donkeys?
I think they live about 40 or 52, so probably like.
But you're going to keep them there? Oh, okay. All right.
There's a lot of public that come by, feed donkeys, kids.
No, I think it's great. Harvey, I've been no, you don't have to get up. I just want to be honest with you. Because I've told you all along that I was opposed to this. I've changed my mind. When I look at this and I think of the price of this thing, and the fact the poles are so broad, and the fact that it is definitely a cowboy or western scene, I just feel like there's a place in Goodyear for this sort of thing. And so, although it is at variance with our guidelines, it just seems to sort of fit what Southwest Specialty Foods is emphasizing to us, and that's the retention of a spirit, a bygone spirit. So I'm going to, sorry, Harvey. Okay. Fred?
I'm sorry I let you talk first. I was going to say exactly the same thing in difference to what most other people are saying. If you came to me, if I was on the city council in Manhattan and you wanted to put this sign up, I'd send you over to Bellevue, which is a psychiatric hospital. But in Goodyear, Arizona, this is the West. Even though this does not meet our guidelines, I think the only concern I would have is people will be so attracted to your sign they may run off the road. But other than that, I think this is a nice-looking sign, and I'll vote for it.
Councilmember Antonia?
But I don't know. Maybe I'm a populist here, but I'm struggling with this whole thing. I mean, I found it. There's no doubt you're going to attract attention with a sign like this, but is there a willingness for us to continue this and see the height of it with a pole that we might have done in other locations and get some idea of the materials here? Because honestly, I'm not getting it I'm not getting the quality aspect from this picture. Maybe we will from the materials that you would be using. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth that sort of a discussion I don't know if it's going to change people's minds, but.
Councilmember Holland?
I don't know.
I felt that it was in keeping with the ranch style, and I too shop there, and I love the donkeys out in the field, and it's ranch-like. I don't know what else we could ask you to do to still keep the theme, the feel that you're trying to go through. So I definitely would vote for it.
Well, it's getting exciting anyway. Councilmember Souza.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Folks, I appreciate you being here in the city of Goodyear. I really do. I appreciate you when you came here. I was one of the people that voted to let you do the things that you wanted to do. Hot peppers and the donkeys and the whole bit,
Sure it is.
But I tell you, this sign leaves me cold. To believe that. If we turn you down tonight, we have a vote on this. It could be a long time before you can come back to us again.
No, there's no rules applied. The 2-year rule is not applied to this, or 1-year rule, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Not to a sign package. They could come back next week with an alternative.
But, I'm inclined to agree with Councilman Antonia. If you could work on this sign a little bit further, I think you could convince many of us on here, on the council, to go along with it. The Western aspect of it is there. There's no question about it. And it's a theme that goes along with your business. But as it stands right now, it just doesn't grab me. Sorry about that.
I just have one other just question. I drove by there several times, and I sat out in front of the place and looked at your building. And on a marketing standpoint, the sign you have above the door is not readable. I don't know if it's I can't read that on sign. And you have lots of space in the front of that building in order to put a very attractive lettering on there, which would be noticeable for everybody. Have you ever thought about, doing that type of signage on the building? Just throw that out. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but.
That signing was all mandated by the city of Goodyear as to the size of it.
No, I didn't mean it was wrong. I just meant to see it and to read it from the street side.
Well, the only way we can make it any clearer would be to make it bigger.
Thank you.
I'll just bring one other point. Think of this, that this is next to a corral of donkeys. I mean, it's supposed to look like this.
But I don't even want to have the donkeys.
Well, that's...
Now we're going to have an eagle.
Mr. Mayor, if I may address Councilman Antoniak's question with regard to materials, the sign is made of metal, plastic, and aluminum with a log base, and has an 8-inch I-beam that goes through it. The sign, this part of the sign is, of course, a plastic.
It's Gary's fault. He zoomed into the general.
Is a plastic. It is not an illuminated sign, though.
Right.
It's just visible during the daylight.
Can I say something? This sign has been revised through the zoning and planning committee. I think this might be 6th revision. They gave us suggestions asking us to put coverage over the original poles and give it some graphic appearance on the bottom of it to give it some more stealth, so it didn't just look like a pole So this has, just so you know, that we have made, I think, like I said, I think this is about the 6th rendition of the original sign presented.
Do you have the name Goodyear on your product?
Every product.
For history purposes, he's always arguing that we should have Goodyear on everything.
Every
So.
product, every catalog, every advertisement that goes out, T-shirts, every trade show we go to, our badges state Goodyear is on it.
This is killing me. You guys are tugging heartstrings here tonight.
Are we ready for a vote?
Wait a minute.
Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Antonia.
No, you had to go first with me.
Your turn.
You guys are killing me. Pass on me for now.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Lord.
Nay.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cavalier.
Nay.
Councilmember Sousa.
I vote this way, I know what I'm going to get from here on in.
I'll take care of it, because
Yeah. What I say.
What are you doing?
All right, I'm going to vote yes on it.
Councilmember Antonia. It passes
5-2.
5-2.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I'm referring everybody to your office for phone calls.
Send them in.
Thank you. Courage.
I think that's way it was,
Well, because I think I have a hard time. No, I have a hard time telling it now.
What else could they do? You know? I mean, these people want to make this a city. What's wrong with that? Are you living in
Okay, we'll now move to the last item on our agenda. And
Thank you very much.
thank you. That is consider adoption of an ordinance approving the rezoning of approximately 157 acres for the Green Corporate Center.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the Green Corporate Center is 157.63 acres, generally located in the city's southeastern border. Just pointed out here, this is Litchfield Road, that is its eastern boundary, Lower Buckeye Road to the north, Broadway Road here to the south, and the western portion of it is the Goodyear Air Park. I'd also point out that this is the city of Avondale along here, y'all, and the Goodyear Air Park to the west, sir. The applicant is requesting a zoning change from the agricultural district to the light industrial zoning district, and this particular piece of property was annexed back in 1976. If I could direct your attention to the
Go first south.
Ladies and gentlemen, the general plan does call for a light industrial land use in this location. And I would also point out that the city of Avondale shows this as an employment corridor as well. And also associated with the roadway, or the general plan, is the roadway classification map, which designates Litchfield Road south of I-10 down to MC-85 as a truck route, and also the proposed Interstate 10 reliever, which is currently under study, located to the south of this proposed development.
Rick, why don't you show that?
I'm sorry, sir?
Show the I-10 reliever on that same map.
And currently, we're showing this basically right down in here, with this being the property area right there. Originally, when we had presented this in a staff report to y'all, we had showed you a lotting plan that looked something similar to this, where the applicant had proposed subdividing this into 16 separate lots, I believe roughly in size from roughly 5 acres up to about 15. At the point when we were proceeding through this, the applicant had expressed to us that they may have a single user that would come in that might take the whole entire site. We had a neighborhood meeting regarding this on January 11th, and I'm happy to say that a few of the folks from the Avondale area showed up with one of their planning commission members in attendance to that meeting. Since then, it appears that the single applicant aspect of this is proceeding, and we entered into preliminary conversations with them. We had a preliminary application meeting with them on Thursday, and we feel compelled to share that with you this evening because it is somewhat different than what we had stated in the staff report to you. We had a meeting on Thursday with the representatives of the Loft Corporation. And they're currently bringing to us, or as I said, we had preliminary discussions regarding this conceptual site plan that they brought to us. I also have with me this evening elevations that I thought I would share with you as well.
You don't have any extra copies of what you just had up there?
Yes, sir, I do. I brought. Not enough to pass around, sir.
Is there a chance that we could get one to pass along here while you're talking?
Yes.
Sorry, our screens are really blurry when you're using Elmo, so we don't get a clear picture of what.
There should be additional copies there, John. As you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, this is a little bit different than the 16 5 to 15 acre lots that we had shown you earlier.
This is just the zoning.
This is a rendering, I believe, of a development or a proposed development that they're working on in another location. Now, I would point out that the it was the applicant's intent from the very beginning to subdivide this, proceed through the subdivision regulations with final plats and preliminary plats. Given this new scenario, they would still be required to do that. And I would also like to point out that, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as I said, we had the initial neighborhood meeting. As this appeared to present itself even farther and become more of a realistic possibility, we went back to those same neighbors, had a discussion with them, informed them exactly what it was that they, were proposing there, and again, they were supportive of that. Some of the concerns that they had were, seeing bay window, big loading docks from Litchfield Road, excessive light at night, but they were more concerned with having a quality development across the street from them. The individual from the Avondale Planning Commission was fully aware that that could be there and supported it going there and hoped that whatever Goodyear put there, they would it hold them to those high quality standards that we have. That concludes my portion of this presentation. I believe Mr. Jones would like to address the council, and I believe representatives of the Loft Corporation are here as well, sir.
Okay.
Real quick clarification, we're looking at 5 different buildings, right? Okay. And the elevation you showed us was for each, it was identical for each building. I assume Dustin will go through that.
And Dustin, are you representing the buyer or
I
something?
represent the owner of the property, not representing Locke, the potential buyer.
So you represent Green?
Yes. Mayor and Council, Dustin Jones with Snell and Wilmer, on behalf of the applicant, Rose Properties, the Green Corporate Center on this project. Also with me tonight is Karen Keith from Snell and Wilmer, also who's worked on this project. Jack Rose is also present, as well as John Green, whose family has had this property since 1909 in this general vicinity, in this exact site actually. And I was informed, quite intrigued, that he was one of the 2 police officers when this town actually only had 2 police officers. So a nice little bit of history of the family of this property. What you have before you, what we believed was a very simple case, a slam dunk case. If I can get Elmo. It's a 3-point case. General plan, consistent with the general plan that shows light industrial, a zoning application that requested light industrial, and all of the policy discussions within the general plan that indicate light industrial uses. With this application, the applicant submitted a zoning application for straight hard zoning from ag to I-1 use. We've not requested anything specific of the staff. It was a very simple request, zone exactly what the ordinance requires. No request has been made to deviate from the sign package, the sign ordinance. No deviation has been requested from the lighting ordinance. Everything as the city has adopted within its I-1 zoning district within the zoning ordinance is what's before you. Within that application, because there was not a buyer, in the application there was contemplation of potentially dividing this property up into 16 parcels, which is often seen within the city, to divide it for smaller uses. During the course of the application process and receiving reviews, a potential buyer did approach the city, did approach the seller of the property. They came into the city and brought in and had a site plan application or pre-application with the city with a site plan for what they would intend to use. That potential buyer has not closed on the property. Our position has been where we're going to move forward with the application because this is still the property that's owned. Our request is, again, just a straight hard zoning from ag to light industrial use, no deviations, no waivers of any setbacks, height, or anything else that the city would require of the developer. As Rick has indicated, the potential buyer has come in again to the city with a site plan. We've had no objections to the site plan that they're presenting because it is consistent with the zoning ordinance. It's consistent with the I-1 uses that are permitted in the uses there. What you have before you is a potential site plan, it's potential elevations of the buildings. All of that, as you all very well know, goes through a design review process, a site plan process that's after the zoning. Our argument, our submittal to you tonight, is that the application to rezone this property is consistent with the general plan, it's consistent with the area, and that the uses would not be objectionable. And that's the case that's before you tonight. I'm not here representing Locke, although representatives of that company are here tonight to answer any questions you may have with respect to their site plan. But what we don't want to have happen is have that confused with the zoning case, which is before you, which is simply, again, a straight general plan type of zoning where we're going from light industrial or ag to light industrial, and we'll answer any questions if you have those for us tonight. Thank you.
Representatives of Locke like to speak?
I'm prepared to, if you like. We really didn't.
Could you describe why you've changed from the smaller parcels to the larger?
Well, on behalf of the true applicant, not speaking for Mr. Rose, but our business is institutional quality, larger bulk distribution facilities. That's part of our business. We found Goodyear as natural in the natural progress of growth, and ultimately approached the owner of the property to acquire the land during his application. So it's our intent to build, should this zoning be approved, a series of high quality, very well designed and nice looking buildings, and our typical corner treatments and landscape requirements and building character and composition are, we self-impose the type of development higher and above most jurisdictional standards. So I can answer whatever questions you have of me or specific to the site itself. We didn't come in with a dog and pony show, so to speak, to tell you about the number of potential jobs and ultimately the...
No, we didn't need that.
Yeah, sure.
But thank you.
Yes.
For the record? For the record?
Sure. My name is Mike Orr. I represent Loth Property Group. Our local address is 2415 Camelback Road, Suite 746.
Thank you for coming. Do we have any comments from the public? Could I ask the clerk to read the ordinance by title only, please?
Council will consider adopting ordinance 2006-997, providing for conditional rezoning of 157.63 acres of property from the agricultural district to the light industrial park district for an industrial development known as Green Corporate Center, located west of Litchfield Road, south of Lower Buckeye Road, and north of Broadway Road, amending supplementary zoning map number 05-230 to provide for the change in zoning, provide separability, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to accept ordinance number 2006-997 as read by the clerk.
Second. I have a motion from Councilmember Scott and a second from Councilmember Antoniak. It's open for discussion. Councilmember Souza.
Thank you, Chair.
Rick?
Justin, or Rick, one of the two.
Rick, go ahead.
What is the, I noticed that there's some buildings that are in the northeast corner of this property.
In the northeast corner, sir?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it. It looks like building.
Green, it's Mr. Green.
Yes.
Mr. Green's home.
I mean, I heard Elmo there.
All right.
I believe that would be that gentleman's residence right there behind me.
And you're going to be comfortable with these buildings going alongside of your home?
Yeah, those will be removed, sir.
He's moving.
He's moving, yes.
Any other further questions or discussion?
That's it.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Antoniak?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Holland?
Aye.
Councilmember Lord?
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a staff summary or follow-up action?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have several. As it relates to the stadium question, the multi-recreational facility, it was requested that Brian Delkey send a letter to EJM and to the Pedersen Rolls Group, thanking them for their participation in the spring training initiative. As it relates to the North Community Park, staff will notify the council at such time as we have started going through or the outcome of the county waiver as it relates to the Splice Park. As it relates to the skate and bike park, the criteria and the rules will be put together, and 2 months for council to be informed of, and also that there will be a 2-month report after the first 2 months of operation of that facility. No, we do not recall any other elements that relate specifically to that agenda. I have been asked to comment on next Monday's agenda, which was a work session related to the Public Works Operation Facility Master Plan. Staff just advised me that there were some circumstances that necessitate delaying that. We will be looking at the rest of the agenda and other matters to see if it's possible to bring that forward. If not, don't be frustrated by that, because we have a meeting on Tuesday night, which is the special meeting of all 4 cities as it relates to Avondale, Buckeye, Goodyear, and Litchfield Park getting together at Strand Mountain Community College regarding I-10. That's at 7 p.m. And then on Saturday, council members are going to have an all-day parliamentary procedures training session in City Hall in rooms 230, 231. So those are just a few of the items that are coming up over this next week. And Mr. Mayor, I have a note for your early morning engagement with the newscasters.
I hope it says it's canceled.
Not yet. Just have your phone on.
Cancel our trip tomorrow, too? Did they cancel our trip for tomorrow?
As it relates to West Core Tour, what time the meeting?
We're set for tomorrow, 9 o'clock, meeting at Tuscany Falls.
Tuscany,
At Tuscany Falls,
at 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock in the morning.
I'll apologize in advance, but I have to be absent tomorrow, so I'll get notes from Holly.
Okay, opportunity for any inquiries of staff by council. Okay, we had a long day. Thank God it's over, but it was a good one. We're adjourned.